Breaking news into the Fanfare newsfeed.
Donald Trump has just announced moments ago that he is going to name Susie Wiles, his campaign co-chair, to be the chief of staff of his presidency once he gets to office starting in January. And I do want to read you the statement here. He says, Susie Wiles just helped me achieve one of the greatest political victories in American history and was an integral part of both my 2016 and 2020 successful campaigns. Susie is tough, smart, innovative, and is universally admired and respected. Susie will continue to work tirelessly to make America great again. It is a well-deserved honor to have Susie as the first ever female chief of staff in United States history. I have no doubt that she will make our country proud. As we talked about earlier today, Susie had been the top contender going into this. She is someone who makes Donald Trump feel comfortable. She is also someone who has really lasted the longest in Donald Trump's orbit, a place that is known for knife fighting and backstabbing. She has been loyal to the former president, a constant by his side since he left office in 2021. One thing I will say, Jake, she had some stipulations that he clearly agreed to, telling one source that she didn't want the clown car to be able to have access to the White House at any time, meaning those people who they don't want near Donald Trump. She clearly won that argument. She will be the first female chief of staff in United States history.
That's huge news. I am interested in learning, and maybe you can make a list of the people who would qualify as the clowns, because I'm sure everybody has their different take on who might constitute members of the clown.
That would be you, Jake. You and the rest of these people in your White House press corps, along with the rhinos, are part of the clown car. And already his first appointment out of the box, he's showing you he's closing ranks, and he's only going to be dealing with people who support him and are loyal to him, and who aren't going to let any of the riffraff distract him from anything that he wants to do.
But that is interesting news, and she certainly ran Donald Trump's most professional campaign. Kristen Holmes with the breaking news. Thanks. Scott Jennings still with us. Scott, your reaction?
Oh, great pick. I think what was said in the statement is absolutely true. She's universally respected in the party. The organization of the campaign and the fact that he stuck with the leadership team all the way through, I think, is a testament to just what a great job that she did. Being the first female chief of staff in the White House, I think, is a huge marker for both President Trump and the Republican Party. So I think if she can bring the kind of discipline and organization to the White House that she just ran this campaign with, Donald Trump's got a really good chance to get off to a great start and begin achieving objectives right out of the way. So you're going to get a lot of attaboys from across the Republican spectrum for picking Susie Wiles tonight.
All right, Scott Jennings, thanks.
And I love this. What's happened here is the system self-corrected. When you try and break the American model, it fixes itself. And I think people should give credit within the Democratic Party. Donald Trump saved them tonight, too, because they're going to have to take a spatula to these policies and bring it back to the center over the next 4 years. And in a way, reset. And we talked about this earlier, but he saved entrepreneurship. He saved the entire model of the S&P 500, because taxing 20% higher was a really bad idea.
Really bad idea. And so, as you can see, starting to do some different kind of news here. We got that breaking news we had to include. And tonight is all about money. I'm going to be talking to you guys about money. If that's not something you're interested in, if you think that making money isn't something that you'd like to understand and learn more about, maybe this might not be the show for you. You see, I'm going to be talking about how do we now begin to prosper under the Donald Trump presidency. I, for one, am getting my ducks in a row and getting ready to do some things which I'll show you. And tonight I also have Kevin Demerit, who is the CEO, or rather the founder of Lear Capital, who's going to take your questions about basically investing and hedging in things beyond just gold and silver. We're going to talk about that in depth. But let's continue with what Kevin has to say right here.
And it's self-corrected. Capital, and this is why I'm getting on a plane tomorrow night. I intentionally didn't leave till tomorrow night so I could go to Geneva, go to Abu Dhabi, go to Riyadh, and say it's 21% corporate taxes, 100% not going to change. That is very important for people like me that bring capital back to this country.
That's kind of important for people like me as well. The idea of paying less taxes and being able to generate more revenue is definitely appealing to people like me. It should be appealing to you as well.
Fixed itself. It fixed itself. And I think that's why America works. It has worked for 200 years. When it gets too crazy, it fixes itself. And whether you love Trump or you hate him, every Democrat owes him a thank you very much, Mr. President.
Yeah, I feel that too. Not just Democrats. Everyone owes him a huge thank you. You see, if this idiot woman had become president, if somehow they were able to install her, you would have seen some things that you don't want to see. Unrealized capital gains. Do you realize that everything, I didn't mean to say those two words back to back, but do you realize that everything that you've invested in that has a gain attached to it that you haven't realized, you haven't collected the profit on it yet, she wanted to go ahead and, get a piece of that. That is so un-American. That is just the antithesis of capitalism. Well, actually, we know what it was. It was communism. We all had to pay our fair share, and it's not fair that this person is ahead of the other person. Well, we're in a race. That human race right now, there are going to be some people, and it doesn't mean anything negative about them, there are going to be some people who clean streets. There are going to be some people who collect garbage. But in America, what people have to understand is that's not your ceiling. You may have to flip burgers. You may have to collect garbage. You may have to clean houses. But nobody is telling you that's it. That's all you're going to get. You've got no place else in life to go. Get used to cleaning houses. You're going to do that for the rest of your life, and you can't aspire to be anything else. That's crap. So anyone who's worried at this point saying, hey, there's no way I could make $1 million. Yes, there is. Yes, I'm telling you right now, yes, there is. You may not know it. You may need some information. You may need some help. But thank God Trump's going to be in office, and you're going to be able to make as much as you prefer to make. And that's not a bad thing. Not a bad thing at all. Don't let anyone tell you that making as much profit as you'd like to make is a bad thing. Nope. Or it's not fair. Nope, not true. Not true at all. So I don't know if you saw this today. It happened this about 2:30 or so.
Good afternoon. My colleagues and I remain squarely focused on achieving our dual mandate goals of maximum employment and stable prices for the benefit of the American people. The economy is strong overall and has made significant progress toward our goals over the past 2 years. The labor market has cooled from its formerly overheated state and remains solid. Inflation has eased substantially from a peak of 7% to 2.1% as of September. We are committed to maintaining our economy's strength by supporting maximum employment and returning inflation to our 2% goal. Today, the FOMC decided to take another step in reducing the degree of policy restraint by lowering our policy interest rate by 0.25 percentage point. We continue to be confident that with an appropriate recalibration of our policy stance, strength in the economy and the labor market can be maintained, with inflation moving sustainably down to 2%. We also decided to continue to reduce our securities holdings.
Okay, that was Jerome Powell from the Federal Reserve as they lowered interest rates yet again. Now, you may think to yourself, listen, I don't have a mortgage, or the mortgage that I'm going to get is probably going to be, how much am I going to get from a 4.25? It may take a while for that, your new mortgage origination to get your interest rate down, but the interest rates are coming down. Money is going to be cheaper. That's a good and a bad thing. It depends on what you're going to do. It's a good thing because if money is cheaper, you can leverage money and do some different things that you couldn't do before. It's a bad thing because with the money being cheaper, it may not keep inflation low because people will buy and do more. It's complicated, but the bottom line is they're still lowering interest rates. And the fact that they're doing it the day after the election, or 2 days after the election, is kind of interesting. But I'm going to bring Kevin Demerit on right now. We're going to talk about a couple. We're going to take questions from you. I'm going to talk to him, and we're going to just listen to what some of the stuff he has to say, and feel free to chime in. Remember, what I want you to do. Let me go ahead and start this crawl right now. If you have a question, you put a hashtag in the question before you type your comment. So in other words, put hashtag, hey, can I ask you about this? Hashtag, because that way I can sort things better and begin to look at the questions as we begin talking about the different ways that a Trump election, being president-elect, how it's going to affect your bottom line. Me personally, I'm really excited. I'm in real estate, been involved in real estate for decades, and it's something that we've all been waiting for. A lot of people have been sitting on the fence. A lot of money has been sitting on the fence, and you're going to see a lot more money getting infused into the market. So let me go ahead and bring on Kevin right now. Kevin, are you there? There he is. Kevin,
I'm here.
Kevin Demerit, from the founder of Lear Capital. Full disclosure, yes, Lear Capital is a partner of us, sponsor us on this channel, but it doesn't matter, because if you guys were here during the election broadcast, I'm buying, me personally, buying gold and silver. Here it is. Here's the silver, and here's the gold, and we're giving away a whole bunch of that to people who won on Tuesday night. They should be receiving their stuff in the next week to 7 to 10 days, but we're going to go with that. All right, Kevin, let's start. You ready? I got a question.
I'm ready.
Okay, the stock market had a huge run yesterday. I mean, just monstrous. And then it kind of leveled off today. Did the election make that much of a difference to investors?
Yes.
Okay.
I think they anticipate the lower tax rates, potentially lower corporate tax rates. And if you start calculating out the numbers, it's going to add somewhere between 2 and 4% to earnings. You add 2 and 4% to earnings, then the stock price should go up. It's exactly what it did.
Now, why would it add 2 to 4%?
Well, if you lower tax rates, right, if you're going to lower some corporate tax rates again, then that money's going to fall to the bottom line and increase the earnings. So that's what people are anticipating. I think it was probably more than that, but that's going to be a big driver. You lower taxes, you lower interest rates, and more money. If you're not paying interest, if you're not paying the tax, then it's going to go somewhere. It's going to go right to your bottom line. So you don't really need to make any more money. You could make the same amount of money with lower taxes, and obviously going to put more money in your pocket. I think people understood that he is going to also make trade a little bit more fair. We've had all of these countries that have tariffs on the United States and not the opposite in reverse. That's potentially going to get fixed. I know a lot of people talk about that it's going to be inflationary. I don't agree with that. Well, I agree with it a small amount, but I don't agree with that's the only reason that you increase taxes on these, or increase tariffs on these countries. I think if you increase the tariffs and they have large tariffs on us, you get to play fair. It's like a company bidding on someone else's brand name, and that company's bidding on your brand name. And at some point you call up and you say, hey guys, all we're doing is pushing up the prices on our own names. Let's call a truce. Mm-hmm. And then everything gets dropped. They have not been playing fair. That's going to be beneficial to U.S. companies. He's lowered taxes before. That's worked. He's increased tariffs. It didn't make that much of a difference. And the big one to me, Barry, is I think people are going to look forward to less regulation. Yeah. He's a less regulation guy. And to run businesses anymore is almost impossible with all the regulations that we've had piled on top of us.
To a lot of people who were told different things by the mainstream media and may not be aware, because it is a high-level conversation, can you explain tariffs and the misnomer that they've been saying in the media that, oh my God, if he puts tariffs on these goods, you're going to end up, it's basically an increase in cost to lower income people?
Yeah, basically a tariff is if you're in manufacture, if the Chinese are, we manufacture something and we want to export it into their country, they put a tariff on it. A tariff is just basically a tax prior to it entering their country that they put on to make it a little bit more expensive so that their companies in that country can compete. So what Trump is saying is China has placed a bunch of tariffs, along with a lot of other countries, on U.S. goods, making them more expensive in those countries, but we haven't done the same, the opposite way around. And what we need to do is that. If China wants to export a bunch of solar panels that are much less expensive because we didn't have tariffs on them into the United States, but yet everything that we manufacture on the solar side going into their country has a tariff, we're at a big disadvantage.
Right.
He wants to make it fair. Let's make trade fair. And there's a lot of politicians that just haven't had the kahunas to do what he's about ready to do so that you can actually level out the playing field. So is it going to be a little bit more expensive? Possibly. It's not going to be that much more expensive. And the products and the services, or mostly products that he's putting the tariffs on, are the ones that those countries have tariffs on our goods going the opposite way. I think in 2 or 3 years, what people are going to realize is that he made trade fair and everybody starts lowering the tariffs, and those countries will play along with this.
For some reason, I don't know why our government hasn't been as strong with tariffs as the other countries have been with us. But I think it'll also, if they, do you think if they lower their tariffs, then he would then lower the tariffs that he's going to charge them?
He's a businessman. He understands that that's the way the game is played. Hey, if you're going to charge me a bunch of money, I'm going to go start charging you a bunch of money, and we're going to come to the table and we're going to negotiate. That's what he's fantastic at.
Right.
That's what he's done all of his life. You know, this negotiating. There's a book out about it, for crying out loud. That's what this really is. It has nothing to do with, hey, the United States is trying to pull one over on people. That's not the country that we are. It's fair trade. We do not have fair trade policies with other countries, and he's trying to make it fair. And I believe ultimately that prices will come down, and everybody's going to say that was the right decision.
And it's not like you're forced to pay the higher price for the item that's being tariffed. You can buy a competitor that's here in America that isn't getting that tariff. I mean, so basically, if you walk into the store and like, well, this radio is $150. Oh, it's from China. And this radio is from whatever country, and it's $80. You have an option. You're not forced to buy that higher item, correct?
Correct. It makes U.S. companies selling in the United States more competitive. What's happening is China's dumping a bunch of products in the United States that we haven't had tariffs on, and then in their country they've placed tariff on our products, so their products in their country are more competitive. We lose out both ways. He's just trying to level everything out here. Everybody's talking about everything's going to get more expensive.
Yeah.
Maybe in some cases, ultimately, it comes down. Look, every hard thing I had to do in life, every right thing I had to do in life, was probably the hardest thing to do. And that's what, to me, that's what this is, and a few more of the policies, like bringing down the spending from the government. Look, they're going to have ramifications. It's the right thing to do. It's the hard thing to do. But it ultimately, I think trade will be much better off. We'll level off.
So right after the election, I was watching the stock market just kept going up. I think it closed up like 1,400 points the first day. It dropped and basically leveled off today. But while that was shooting through the roof, both the gold and silver market, both of those dropped big time. And then they corrected, and now they're spiking up again. So why did the stock market level off? Why did it shoot up and cause gold and silver to drop down, and now the stock market's leveled off and gold and silver are spiking again? What happened there?
Yeah, look, investing is about a bunch of emotions, right? I mean, Warren Buffett says it's a voting machine, and you can make a lot of votes going back and forth, and ultimately, he said it's a weighing machine. What makes sense ultimately happens. So what happens on a day-to-day basis really, honestly, doesn't affect me too much. It's what happens over the long term that really matters. But this exact same thing happened the last time he was elected. We had gold drop 6% from the day he was elected until he was in office. It was down 6%. And then through the time that he was in office, gold was up 54%. I'm more interested in, hey, look, I'll take the 54%. I think it's actually going to be more this time for specific reasons, but I'll take the 54% because that's long-term what I believe we'll see again.
So now what we're seeing with Jerome Powell, and they're still tinkering with interest rates. How will today's move by lowering it? I think was it by a quarter of a point? I think that's what it was. How does that affect the dollar, and then the stock market and the gold and silver market as well?
Yeah, so usually the dollar falls off when you lower interest rates because interest rates are what brings people into the dollar and into treasuries and things like that. So it makes the dollar stronger. Lowering it usually decreases it. So if you look when interest rates were, 2%, 1%, a while ago, the dollar was down and it strengthened as they raised interest rates. So that's the dollar. Gold does not produce any kind of income. So usually you lower interest rates, and because it doesn't produce income, it makes it a better investment. So usually you would see that increase, and we did today. Gold was up 38, $40. It's usually better for the stock market when you lower interest rates because you're discounting cash flows of companies that are making goods and services, and if you lower the discount rate, then the value of the company usually goes up. So it should be good for stocks in the gold market, and not so good for the dollar.
So what have you found, or how long you've been involved with the gold and silver markets? How historically has gold and silver reacted from the time, not once the new president takes office, but what I'm considering this to be a volatile time between the election and his inauguration, actually getting in office, not knowing what the lame duck administration is going to do, what they're planning. So what do you do in this limbo time?
Well, like I said, I think a 2-month time period is tough. The calls we were getting today from people were, "Hey, I still want some gold for, for a hedge," because I think a lot of the countries that are going to receive these tariffs are the same countries that, really don't want to trade in our dollar. It's going to be Russia, it's going to be China, it's going to be, some of those countries. I mean, the BRICS countries have been piling into gold. I think if you tick off China with some tariffs, and like I said, they don't really like to play fair, they're probably going to push BRICS even harder to try to perform trade with a different currency. That's what they've been trying to do for the past 4 years. And when they do that, they're going to purchase gold because that BRICS currency, for the most part, people believe will be backed by gold. That's what they've said, and those countries have been doing that. So I think you're going to get another record year of gold buying, and that's going to be a big driver for the gold market over the next 3 to 5 years.
Can you explain?
3 or 4 years.
You're talking like way up here, like master level. What's BRICS?
So BRICS is a currency that countries have gotten together and they have formed this currency, which is Brazil, India, China, Russia, and South Africa. Okay, that's an acronym of the BRICS.
Okay.
Which represents about 40% of the population of the world. Their goal with BRICS, this new currency, is to replace the dollar as the world's reserve currency. So China has been moving away from, along with these other countries, using the US dollar to buy oil and other commodities and other goods and services and trade with, and they're moving towards this BRICS currency.
I gotcha.
It's picked up a lot of steam. 30 other countries have raised their hand and said, "Look, I want to join." So, what happens to the US dollar if that happened? There are more or as many US dollars outside the United States as inside the United States, and if they did not need to be used by other countries for trade, and it moved to BRICS, then all those dollars come repatriated back into the United States. And the definition of inflation is too much money chasing too few goods, and that's what people are worried about. The value of the dollar just absolutely crashes. If we look back in history to the other 6 world's reserve currencies and what happened when they no longer were the world's reserve currency, you had massive inflation for 2 to 3 years when that change was happening. And so people are concerned about that.
Now, what I found interesting today and yesterday, basically 1 day and 2 days after Trump gets elected. Yesterday, The people from Hamas said they want a ceasefire, they want to end things. And then today, Putin comes out and says, "Hey, let's have a call and figure out how we end this war over in Ukraine." And Zelensky said, he wants to speak to him. It's so much movement happening in such a short period of time. So, what kind of effect will all of this have on the financial markets within the first 6 months of Trump's presidency? With what we're seeing already, the expediency of things changing.
Well, markets, all markets, stock markets, gold markets, the real estate market, they hate uncertainty. They hate not knowing what could potentially happen tomorrow or the next day. And wars are the absolute worst because you never know which direction they're going to go. You never know when somebody else is going to get involved. So if these wars were taken off the table and they were resolved, it's going to be extremely positive for all financial markets. It really doesn't matter which financial market you're talking about. People just feel more comfortable that there's certainty rather than uncertainty.
But does it affect their, like the BRICS, is it going to affect their currency? Do you see them going back to basically the yen and the ruble and things, or are they going to stick with BRICS?
No, they're absolutely. There's no way they're going back to their own currency. They have been working on this BRICS currency for some time. It accelerated over the past 4 years because of the weaponization of the U.S. dollar with Russia and so on and so forth, which is a part of it. They want a different currency. They want a currency that isn't under some sort of influence of the United States government. If they can get this currency off the ground, and it looks like they can, it's gaining a lot of steam with other countries as well. Then that's the direction they're going to go. And look, when Trump initiates these tariffs, it's just going to be fuel for their fire to make this currency more prevalent.
Okay.
I think that's the direction that you're going to find. I think you're going to get a lot more gold purchase. I think you're going to get a lot more trade in that BRICS currency because all of those countries will say, hey, look, if you're going to put tariffs on me, and make up some mumbo jumbo about what he's doing that's wrong, which is absolutely right for fair trade, they want their own currency to perform the trade with.
Okay. So I know you're gold and silver. But what is with all this talk that we've seen basically in the last 48 hours about Bitcoin hitting 100,000?
Yeah, I think. Look, if you have a Bitcoin company, for instance, I have a friend that has Bitcoin ATMs. He cannot get a bank account if his life depended on it, right? And what Trump has said, hey, look, I don't mind Bitcoin. I think a lot of the government has been nervous about Bitcoin because it's just a different type of currency. So banks won't do business with you and so on and so forth. If you get some additional banking and reduce the regulatory burdens on not only Bitcoin, but just about everything, but in the Bitcoin specifically, you're going to get more adoption in the Bitcoin space, and Bitcoin, should increase. Is it going to go to $100,000? I can't tell you. I'm not a Bitcoin expert. But less regulation in that industry would help it out a lot.
So before we start taking some questions from people, one of the questions we've been talking about, we've been watching him through his rallies, and he has said no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security. They've been talking about different things with first responders not having to pay tax. And then I think his name is Howard Cantor. He went on stage and basically they're flaunting the idea of eliminating the income tax altogether, which if the tariffs work, maybe that's something they could do. But if they eliminate income tax, maybe within the first 24 months, if it's even possible, how would that affect the financial markets and specifically stock, golds, and silver?
I honestly could not tell you because that is, I don't understand. Barry, how do you pay the debt then? Right? I mean, look, there's different kinds of taxes. Okay, maybe it's not an income tax, it's just a flat tax.
Right.
Here's what you made, we're paying a tax, or it's some sort of sales tax every time you purchase something. There has to be some sort of tax because we have a $37 trillion mound of debt that he needs to figure out how to slow down and hopefully pay down, or at least slow it down, and we'll catch up to it. So is it the right thing to do to lower taxes? Absolutely. Our taxes are high and we don't get anything from it. I was sitting down with some people outside the country and they said, look, we pay some high taxes, but we get something for it. Our roads are great. Our buildings are great. There's not graffiti everywhere. There's not homeless everywhere. Our kids get to go to university, for free. Our medicine is less expensive and pretty much on par. What do you get for your tax dollars? And, it's a great point. So lowering taxes is probably the right thing to do. But it's like what I said at the beginning of this podcast is doing the right thing a lot of times has some pain with it. So yes, you can lower taxes, but then what do we do with the debt? How do we get the deficit down? How do we get the spending down? Elon Musk says, hey, look, I think I can cut $2 trillion out of the government spending. Well, if he can do that, we can lower taxes by $2 trillion and we're exactly even.
Right.
So that tightrope of how far can we lower taxes and how much can we pull out of the government that's just been ridiculous spending for years and years and years, that's the tightrope that the calls today from people say, hey, look, just an accidental too much taxes and not enough, cutting, then the stock market's going to have some problems. Gold's going to have some problems. I mean, you're going to want a hedge. You're going to want something. So maybe a correction in the stock market, usually gold's a pretty good idea. But there's just a tightrope of the right thing to do and what is the pain we're all willing to take to do that right thing.
Right. Obviously, there's without ever having any political insight in regards to what's going on with the budget or the so-called budget, since they never have one for some time. Just seeing what they're doing, we know there's a bunch of fat, but how would they even determine what fat is there? I mean, like what Elon said, I think I saw an interview with Tucker Carlson, and he's like, how many? There's they went in already and looked. There are 429 different governmental agencies, and he thinks he can get it down to like 99. And I'm like, well, how do you pick the 300 you're going to get rid of, Because you're right. It's like playing Jenga. You can pull out something here, pull it here, and then all of a sudden the whole thing just goes boom, boom, boom. So what do we need to function?
Yeah. Look, he's been incredibly successful at going into the businesses and say, what do you need to actually this business? He's a very down-to-earth, logical guy on what you need to run the business. And then what do we need to get productivity out of this business? Right. And if the United States was run just a little bit more like a business, then I bet you could look at a list of those 300 and the one that was like, we're researching dog poop to see what that's going to do to global, warming. You don't need that one anymore. Let's get rid of just the completely stupid ones, which is probably about a third of all the ones that are in there, which save you the first $1 trillion. And then what are we going to do on the rest of them? Are you cutting them completely, or are you just cutting back on everything that they're doing? And Elon's great. I don't know if he's going to look at all 400. He's got a lot of people that are super smart behind him. And, if there's a couple of people out there that can do it, I got to believe he's one of the guys that can do it. And I have all the confidence that he'll do it right.
Well, I don't know if you saw it happen late in the day today, but I've been following this guy, Javier Milei, who's the new Argentinian president, the one who made that fantastic video where he went in and just started pulling off the different agencies off the board. He's like, you're out. And then within a couple months of doing that, he basically put the country back on a financial status that it was actually working. Well, he announced today he's flying in to meet with Elon. And I'm like, oh my God, they're going to be freaking, because now he's going to be talking to this guy. Which ones did you cut? Well, I cut them and I cut them. And it didn't hurt anything? No, we're good. I can't even imagine walking in and saying these 87,000 IRS agents, you're all done. Just go ahead and pack your stuff. And I wouldn't even know where to start. I know they're freaking out about education. I know that, there's so many things that could affect the financial markets. RFK Jr. with him wanting to go in and deal with food and I just see a lot of craziness going on in the next couple of months.
Yeah, and it's literally back to the same thing. Everything we're talking about probably is the right thing to do. I just can't tell you if they're going to get it exactly right, because to do those things exactly right is very tough. We wake up every day and, you're trying to make the best decision for your retirement and so on and so forth. And okay, now your mother gets sick and she needs to go into a nursing home, and all of a sudden $3,000 to $4,000 or $5,000 a month need to go over there that you just never anticipated. That's just part of life. We know it's the right thing to do or put her in there. It's just there's got to be some pain. We got to cut back somewhere to make sure she gets the right thing. These guys are talking about much bigger dollar figures, and it influences a lot of things in the market. Again, that's what we're hearing today is everything we know is the right thing to do. There's going to be some pain. I can't tell you what it is. Let's hedge a little bit to make sure that, if the stock market has some problems, I've got some stuff. It's just basic diversification, though, but it is an issue, and it's exciting. This is the first time in, geez, how long? Well, since the last time he was in, but I think this time is going to be better, right? He's going to have a little bit more power. He's back in there. He's going to hire the right people. He's not going to be so timid about saying, hey, look, I'll put you in because that's what everybody wants. No, we're going to put people in this time because it's the right thing to do. And it's probably going to cause a little bit of pain. Fine. I'm willing to go through it because I think the country's going to be better off. I just don't know what's going to happen with finances from now in the next year and a half, 2 years as it's happening. But after that, I think you're going to see the benefits of what he's doing. So just get prepared for a little bit of a rough ride, but it's just part of life.
So I got to trying to find these questions. Here's one. Let me put this up. Somebody asked, who's this name? Jeff. How will drilling for oil again affect the economy?
I'm not sure it's going to affect the economy all that much because I think the oil prices have been coming down. So there's kind of this oversupply or a little bit of a glut. If oil was $120 or even $80 or $90 a barrel, then we're adding, profit back into the economy. But, the oil price probably comes down a little bit further and drives some people out of business. So I don't think drilling for oil is going to do much to affect our economy here. It might be better strategically so that we have oil in case of a war or something like that. But as far as the economy is concerned, I don't think it's going to make that much of a difference.
This was a good one. What's the best investment for someone who is 10 years away from retirement with currently no savings? I think she means currently with no savings.
Well, savings, for retirement is like a pyramid. You want your strongest investments on the bottom, your most risky investments, and the smaller portion of it at the very top. If you have no savings now, then you want to start with the most conservative types of investments. So those are typically your income producing type of investments, government bonds, so on and so forth. And because you're 10 years away from retirement, you still have some time to get started. But the best thing I can say to you is go down and talk to a financial planner and have him put that pyramid together for you. So there is a plan that's 10 years out that you can predict and rely upon.
Yeah, because I know you've got the college savings plans that if you got the time, if you've got the 10 years, there are financial instruments that you can put together that'll put you in a good place. Here's a very interesting question I just saw, and I've wondered this myself. How did we get trillions into debt, and who do we owe that money to?
Yeah, so that's a very good question. So how did we get into trillions of dollars worth of debt? The Federal Reserve, Mia, I think that's her name,
yes.
Mia, can print money out of thin air. So when COVID happened, the Federal Reserve said, we're going to send people $1,200, $1,800 a month, and we're going to print that money out of thin air. And that's what they do. So those trillions of dollars worth of debt come from the Federal Reserve printing up money out of thin air and then spending it in the economy. They can print money and send it over to foreign countries. So when we're sending money over to foreign countries, trillions of dollars can be printed to do that. Our deficit or our debt last year with the interest rate was $1.1 trillion worth of interest. Where did we get the $1.1 trillion? Well, if we have a balanced budget, meaning taxes match up to the amount you're spending as a government, then that would have been fine. But we're not. We spent $2.5 or almost $3 trillion extra. Where did that $3 trillion come from? The Federal Reserve prints it up, issues it as bonds, and then we pay that money back to the Federal Reserve. So who does the debt go to? Back to the Federal Reserve. That's who gets paid back the money.
So it's not going to a foreign country. we're basically paying back. And let me ask you this before. I'm sure people are trying to. They have a nice name. They're called the Federal Reserve, but they have nothing to do with the government.
No, they're completely independent from the government.
so it's a bunch of guys who sit in a room, and we owe this money to them. And who is the Federal Reserve?
It's an independent corporation. What year was it? 1912, I believe they came into existence, and they control the money supply. And their job basically is what you heard Jerome Powell say, which is we want to make sure that there's a consistent and steady job market, so unemployment, employment, and interest or inflation. So their goal for inflation is 2%, and whatever their goal is on unemployment kind of changes a little bit, but that's their two big goals, is to try to make sure there's employment for people and inflation doesn't run completely through the roof. Well, when you had the pandemic, a lot of people were out of work. So what did they do? They printed up trillions of dollars. I mean, think about this. In 2008, our entire deficit or debt was $8 trillion. So it took 6 years, 7 years, whatever it took to get to 8 trillion. And from 2008 to where we are today, now we're at 37 trillion. And so we printed up all that money in that very short period of time, from starting really with Alan Greenspan when the dot-coms crashed. He was the first guy that basically injected a bunch of money into the economy. The economy came back and everybody said, hey, that's a pretty good idea. It's the new monetary policy. And Jerome Powell then took up and said, hey, I can drop money from a helicopter, which he did. And everybody past that has been printing up money in huge amounts, all at our expense, because our taxes go to pay that debt.
I know if I don't pay my light bill, these lights that are on right now would just go off. The stream would go off. It wouldn't happen. What would happen if they just decided, since it's this independent corporation, we're not paying it? Because they're
well,
why are we in debt to these people who are an extended corporation who we know are just printing up dollars that aren't real? Why does the country even have to pay it? What would they foreclose on? How would they get it back? What is their collateral to retrieve if the United States didn't pay that debt?
Well, look on a dollar. It's the full faith of the government is the collateral, right?
Right.
And the full faith of the government. So if you did not pay that debt and you said, okay, we're just going to eliminate all of this debt, that's what countries do. Mexico has done it. Brazil has done it. Argentina has done it. What happens to their currency? Absolutely crashes. It's absolutely worthless. Inflation would go through the roof and nobody would lend us any money. Because when the Federal Reserve is printing this up, then they put out a note, and that note somebody's purchasing, and they have an interest rate on it, right? So that's the Federal Reserve note are these Treasury bills.
See, but that's the question.
And so
who's buying these notes? See,
foreign countries, people in the United States, everybody. So you said, no, we're not going to do that anymore. They've lost all that money as well, right? So our taxes pay back those notes, and interest is getting so high at $1 trillion. I mean, if you would have said to somebody 5 years ago, do you think the interest on our national debt would hit $1 trillion? Nobody would have said yes.
Yeah.
Now we have to borrow $1 trillion just to pay the interest on the debt. So when you think about this debt, how do you pay it? How do you get rid of it? One, you do what you said and default. Two, you pay it back. Politicians aren't really great at paying back debt when they can just print it out of thin air, so I doubt that that's going to happen. You can balance the budget and just leave it the same, see where you go from there. Or number three, you can inflate it away. If I have inflation at 20%, my dollars at the end of a year are 20% worth 20% less. I'm paying back dollars of a $37 trillion debt at 20% with dollars that have a value 20% less. If I had to guess, inflation goes up a little bit and you pay it back with less valued dollars. And basically that's kind of what Citigroup said today. Hey, buy gold on the dips for two reasons, right? Inflation's probably going to be a little bit higher than people are accustomed to, and number two, the de-dollarization that we talked about earlier with other countries wanting to get away from the dollar.
You keep throwing terms in there that are just second nature to you. Can you explain what buy the dip means?
Yeah, buy the dip means the gold price yesterday, not today, was down around $79. That's a dip. It fell. I'm buying that dip. Today it's up $40. So if I bought the dip, I'm now $40 ahead. What Citigroup is saying, and is that we believe that the price of gold probably goes to $3,000 again because of de-dollarization, a little bit higher interest rates. Maybe the things that we need to do in this country, the right things, are going to be a little rough, and so you want some sort of a hedge to kind of get through that. And they predicted gold at 3,000 plus, which is very close to where we're predicting also.
Okay, I have a question that says, don't know how old you are, I'm not going to ask you, but if you were 30 years old, what would you do seeing what the landscape looks like? And how would you plan for the future if you were a 30-year-old person?
Plan for the future financially?
Yes.
Okay. The first thing I would do is go down, like I said to whoever the other person was, go down and get a financial planner, right? If you're thinking about it, which is fantastic at 30 years old, go down and get a financial planner. And what they're going to tell you is diversification works. You're going to build a pyramid and you're going to say, hey, I want the most conservative type investments at the bottom. I'm going to build on that. I'm going to get educated about investing, and I'm going to work my way up that pyramid. The best thing you can do, and I have a very dear friend, Robert Kiyosaki. He wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad. He's all about education. If you educate yourself about investing and the investments, and get 3 or 4. Look, you're a real estate guy. You know real estate. You're going to look at a building. You're going to evaluate that building. And you're going to know if it's a good deal or not.
Right.
A guy who doesn't know real estate could show up and say, "This is fantastic. It's a 12-unit apartment building." And you would say, yeah, and it has no parking. The people are going to have nowhere to park. I'm not going to be able to rent these things out at a reasonable price. That guy didn't see that, right? Get educated about investing. We give all of our information away for free. We write special reports. All of our kits are free. I want you to be educated, because if you're educated about precious metals, you're going to understand why they're probably going to continue to go up in value. The government's going to continue to print money. You can't print gold. So every time they do that, the value of gold is going to go up. The same with real estate. I can't make any more real estate. Whatever's there is there. So they print more money. The value of real estate is going to go up. Understanding that concept, and then understanding more and more about the types of investments that interest you, and help with a financial planner to put that pyramid together and kind of tell you, hey, this is what we're going to do. You don't really need much help on a bond or income type of investments. The financial planner is going to do great with that. But if you're talking about real estate, go get educated. If you're talking about gold, go get educated. If you're talking about the stock market, financial planners are okay. I'll pick my own stocks. I know enough that I think I can do a little bit better job. So that's what I would say. If I were 30 years old, crack open some books, start with Rich Dad, Poor Dad, get a little bit of education. It's going to help you out tremendously. You will make better decisions and have a lot more money to show for it in the end.
I got one that's right in your wheelhouse. In fact, they're asking a question here. I don't even know what it means. It says, would you convert your IRA or your 401k any quantity of dollars to gold, and how do you pay the RMD? What is RMD? Do you know what she's talking about?
Yeah, required minimum distribution. So when you get to 70 and a half, you have required minimum distributions, because you haven't paid tax on it if you have a regular, not a Roth IRA, but a regular IRA. So the government says, hey, when you get to a certain age, we want our taxes, so you have to liquidate some portion of the IRA each year to pay those taxes. So would I convert an IRA or 401k? Yes, we do that all the time. Betty, you don't have to convert all of it. You can pick a portion. So I don't know how old you are. I don't know what your goals are. So, somebody would sit down and go over that with you, and then you can convert any portion of an IRA, 401k into gold. Like I said, we do that all the time. And then how do you pay the required minimum distribution on it? Is that gold is held in the IRA account. You would liquidate the portion of silver or gold in the account to pay the required minimum distribution, and you would get a check to do that.
I have one from Emmanuel here, and this is sort of like what you were saying, but I'm going to let you answer it. Does Lear Capital have financial planners?
No, we are not financial planners. We only specialize in precious metals. So if you're looking for a full financial plan, you need to go find an actual financial planner. And I say this all the time. I am literally not smart enough. I've written a book on the economy. I'm not smart enough to be a financial planner. And the reason why is I have to track 1,800 mutual funds, thousands of stocks. I'm selling annuities. I'm selling healthcare. I'm selling life insurance. I can't do that. I need to specialize in one thing that I really understand and I'm really good at, right? So go find yourself a good financial planner. And it's the reason I say go get educated all at the same time. Mm-hmm. The financial planner can put great structure together for you. And then you become educated on some of the investments that you have a passion for because you're going to be good at it. Right? Like I said, Barry, you have a passion for real estate, right? Mm-hmm. You're going to stick more with it. You're going to understand it. You're going to make more money than the average guy who doesn't understand it. So
yeah, I don't think a lot of people,
planners are great.
I don't think a lot of people realize it. I was lucky enough when I first started buying real estate, I met probably the preeminent real estate investor in all of South Florida. This guy was the king, and a good friend I had in college was looking to buy her first house to live in, not as an investment. I just took tagged along with her, her and her daughter, and I just was sitting in the car, and he's like, "Who's that guy?" And so I got out of the car and I met him, and then he goes, "Here's my card. Come see me. Let's have lunch." And the amount of stuff this guy threw at me was like going through a college education in about 6 months. I mean, it was just, he told me, don't do this, do this. And so it got to the point where, and no BS, and you may have heard the term, he said, "I want you to be my bird dog." And I'm like, "What the hell is a bird dog?" He goes, "I'm going to tell you, basically, I'm going to give you a menu. I'm going to give you an order what I'm looking for. You go hustle and find a house that has 3 bedrooms with 2 baths with 1,300 square feet that's made out of brick construction, blah, 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 and I'll pay you $5,000 if the numbers work." I'm like, "You just want me to do that?" Yeah. And I got like the first 2 or 3 houses, and I'm like, and I watched what he did after that. So that my education was actually watching him put together a deal. Here's how you put the financing, find the deal, do the inspection. And one of the keys he always told me, which is different than gold, and I'll get into this later, but people have asked me how I do it. I always knew there was a buyer before I bought the house. And the thing is, a lot of people don't realize you make your money when you buy, not when you sell in real estate. You have to buy it correct because there's going to be an aftermarket, but if you buy it correct, you got a home run. But I'll talk about that later. Here's a question. I don't know. Betty, I guess she's put a couple. I'm retired, 20 years retired, and risk adverse. Am I a candidate to purchase gold? That's an interesting question.
Yeah. Anybody's a candidate to purchase gold, Betty. It's what are your goals? If you call and get our information, you can sit down and talk to somebody and say, I'll give you an instance. If you need income, gold isn't going to produce income. So if you need income today, gold is not going to be anywhere on your list. If you're risk adverse and you want to hedge against potential inflation and maybe this first couple of years as Trump fixes the economy, the rough spots and possibly a devaluation of the dollar because of these countries, then yeah, gold's going to work in there. So we just need a little bit more information before I can really honestly answer the question and help you out.
So I have a question from Tina. And Tina, before I post your question, understand you're talking to the founder, the boss of Lear Capital. So he's going to, I get this a lot, and we were going to talk about it, but we have an actual question that actually says it. Tina says, "I called." So if you called, I'll let Kevin handle this. We called and we were told we needed a minimum of $5,000 to purchase from Lear. I get this a lot. Kevin, I'm going to turn it over to you. You can explain this one.
Okay. So if you're speaking to one of our guys, he's going to charge you for that consultation and to purchase the gold. So Tina, if you go to our website and purchased $5,000, you are not going to have to pay the representative to help you. So it's going to be less expensive online. And right around $5,000 is kind of a number where we say, geez, if you go online, you're going to just get a better deal. Let that go up and then accumulate. And anything over $5,000, when you purchase, then our fee kind of makes more sense with the help that we're going to provide. So we're not trying to tell you don't have enough money to kind of do business with Lear Capital. I hope they made it clear. And if they didn't, I'll make it clear. We try to say, go online and you're going to purchase some gold. We can tell you literally, the rep will tell you the kind of coin and what to purchase, and you are going to save yourself, 5 or 7, up to 9% when you purchase that metal. You literally save yourself on $5,000, almost $500, call it $450 or $400 by going online. So that's
what is the actual minimum that somebody, if they went online, could buy just as a minimum?
You can buy whatever you want online. I think it's we raised it some time ago. I'm sorry. I think it's $1,000 online because if you buy $250, the insurance and the shipping still costs. I think it's $45 or $49 or something. Regardless, so we raised it to a price that the shipping and insurance made sense.
So you can actually get in for that letter. Okay.
Yes.
Let me see here. I'm looking. There's somebody here. Let me let you take this next question while I look into this. It says, are there different grades of gold? Is the first question, and is an ounce of gold the same everywhere?
When you say grades, a lot of times you're talking about collector or numismatic coins. So yes, there's different grades of coins that come with different prices. If you're talking about different grades of actual bullion type of gold, yes, there's 22 karat, 24 karat. So the United States government makes basically a 22 karat gold coin. It weighs more than 1 ounce because there's 1 ounce of pure gold in it, but they put copper in it because if you took a maple leaf and you dropped it on a hard floor, you're gonna dent the coin. Gold is fairly soft. By putting that little bit of copper in it, you drop it and not such a big dent. You can barely tell that anything happened with the gold. You're still getting 1 ounce of pure gold, but they'll put something in the copper in there to give it some durability. Is an ounce of gold the same everywhere? 100%. Gold is literally one of the most liquid investments on planet Earth because you can take an ounce of gold here, go to Europe, anywhere in the world, and an ounce of gold is exactly the same price in US dollars.
What's when you hear 24 karat, 18 karat, what is that? That's not the same as when you invest in gold.
Slightly. So like I said, a 24 karat is pure gold, and a 24 karat coin, when you look at a maple leaf, we don't call it 24 carats. You'll look on the coin and it'll have what we call 4 nines. It's 4 nines pot. It's 0.9999% gold. So, that's a maple leaf. When you look at an American Eagle, they take that 1 ounce of pure gold, they mix in a little bit of copper. Usually copper is the thing that's happening here. And that's what brings the quality or the carats down. So instead of 24 carats, it's 22 carats when you look at the coin. Okay. But an American Eagle, when you weigh it, weighs more than 1 troy ounce because the copper's in there. But you're still getting a pure ounce of gold. So if you buy a Krugerrand, same deal. If you buy a maple leaf, you're getting pure. If you buy a Australian ducat or a kangaroo or something like that, then it's pure gold too.
I got a question, or rather a statement from somebody, and I'm going to just direct them to contact somebody at Lear. I don't want to mention their name, but it says, Barry, my family invested X amount in Lear Capital, but you didn't invest in Lear Capital. You bought gold or silver. You didn't invest in Lear. You're not a partner in the company. And it says, is Kevin saying that our investment isn't worth what we paid in? I'm going to let Kevin answer that, but if you did this, it says you bought it a year ago, pretty sure you're sitting okay, right?
Yeah, so it's just like everything. So there's a fee. And if you look on your invoice, at the very bottom of every person's invoice, it will have exactly what your fee that you paid is. Okay? So Lear Capital is a little bit different than the rest of the companies out there, because I don't know any companies where you can make an order and then you have 24 hours to decide if you still want to make that order. So when you do business with Lear Capital, what's going to happen is we're going to tell you exactly on a recorded confirmation line what your metal is, the quantity of the metal, and what your fee is. We tell you on that recorded confirmation. We also tell you have 24 hours from the time we email you or Federal Express you your invoice to decide if you'd like it. There's literally an email address and a phone number that you can call and say, look, I don't want this order. I found it less expensive someplace else, what have you. No problem. We cancel that order. We've locked it in for you, so if you do want to go ahead, then you go ahead and send in your money. When you get the invoice, all of the coins or the metals will be listed, and at the bottom of the invoice, it will literally tell you exactly what that fee is. You receive that invoice, and that's what you can make your decision on. So the answer to the question is, if you purchased and sold at that very moment, whatever that fee is what you are going to be down. You need to overcome that fee to have a profit.
And so, yeah, and it's gone up, would you say 54% in the last year?
No. It's the last time Trump was in office, the gold price was up 54%. Gold's up about 25%.
Yeah, okay. So if you bought it, yeah. Now here's one. Not sure why you would need this, but is there a mutual fund that specifically buys gold and silver?
The mutual funds don't really buy gold and silver. They hold the gold and silver, and then you can purchase that fund. There's GLD, which is an exchange traded fund that holds 80% or 90% of the gold physically, and the rest is in a contract. You can purchase that, and it goes up and down as the spot price of gold and silver goes up and down. So, you have choices. You can, well, if you wanted to do that, this is the example that I give, Al. If you wanted to go buy precious metals, and I told you, great, send me in $10,000, and I'm going to take 8,000 of it, and I'm going to go buy gold with it, and the other 20%, I'm going to go buy a contract that you can get the gold at some point, but it's not really there. And then the 80% that I purchased, I'm going to go store off in HSBC Bank over in England. You'd probably look at me and go, "What are you talking about?" That's GLD. That's what they do. They take the physical gold. It's not here in the United States for a lot of these funds, and not 100% of it is backed by the physical gold. When you buy precious metals, my personal opinion, you want physical possession. It is yours. Nobody can take it away. It's called a bearer investment. You are bearing it. You own it. It's in your safety deposit box or whatever. It's nobody's but yours. So if something happens, if something happens and you can't get your gold and silver, then the reason you purchased it probably didn't, work out. Now, if you're purchasing today to sell tomorrow and you're a trader, don't buy physical gold, because you're sending it back and forth all the time. It doesn't make any sense. It makes more sense to kind of do it that way. But if you're talking about longer term, 3 to 5 years, then buy the physical stuff itself and hold on to it.
I'm seeing a lot of people with questions that are obvious. How can I say this? Disinformation, and they're not really understanding. This question from Dale. And she says, I heard that Mexican gold was more pure and more valuable than gold from the United States. How true is this? And this is what you're saying. Gold is gold. It doesn't matter if it's from South Africa or Mexico or the United States. It's gold. As long as you can get it verified that it's actually real, that's the thing you have to make sure, correct?
Correct. So the gold from Mexico may be more pure or may not be more pure, depending on the coin that you're talking about, because for government issued coins, they're going to put that 0.99, 0.92, whatever the 0.99 is, you can look at it and say, okay, it's 1 pure ounce of gold in this coin that may or may not weigh more than an ounce, depending on the purity. But I can literally see what the purity is right on the coin. So again, if you're purchasing a maple leaf from Canada, which is an extremely popular coin, it is pure gold. It's as pure as you can possibly get it, because it's 0.9999 pure, four nines pure. So your Mexican gold if you're purchasing an unpopular coin not minted by the government, you may have a liquidity problem because, like Barry said, now I have to go get it assayed. I have to figure out what the quality of that coin is. So my personal recommendation is stick with bars and coins that are either government or very well-known private mints that you can verify the quality, because then you can just sell it in a moment's notice. I mean, you didn't have to buy it from me. You could call me, tell me what you have an American Eagle, and I can tell you exact price. And when it comes, I know what it is.
Not sure this question. It says for a gold transfer, you have to have no additional monthly fees to have it in your hand, I guess is what the question is.
Correct.
Okay.
No,
Yeah.
yeah, whatever your safety deposit costs, if you're going to put it in there, but if you had a safe at home and you put it in there, no, there's no additional cost from us. You purchase it, it's yours. If you want to sell it back, you give us a phone call, we give you the price, and then you ship it right back to us, and we send you the money back. So we don't charge, there's no management fees or things like that when you purchase gold, physical gold.
I don't know if you have it handy, Kevin, but people are asking, like, as of like today, what is the price of gold and what is the price, an ounce of gold and an ounce of silver?
Well, I can get it for you because it changes. Everybody should realize gold trades 23 hours a day. There's only 1 hour in the day that gold does not trade. So if you ask somebody what it is after the stock market closes, gold could still be trading. So gold right now is $2,703.30, $2,703.30. The price of silver is $31.86 today, right now.
What was it again? Silver? 33?
$31.86.
31.86. Okay. Is there an advantage to purchasing physical gold or silver from Lear versus other, I guess, your competitors, another company? What would be the advantage that Lear gives as a purveyor rather than calling XYZ company?
Well, I can give you a couple. I've been doing this for 37 years. Lear's been around for 35 years. Not a lot of companies have been around that long. We've done over almost $4 billion worth of business. Never refused a buyback. So if you own it and you want to sell it back to us, we always buy back. I think one of the biggest differences is what I've already talked about, is a 24-hour purchase guarantee. If you think about what I have to do to make that happen, when you make the purchase and you're on the phone with a representative and you make that purchase, I'm saying I'm going to send you your invoice. I want you to go shop that invoice. You want to take it around and try to get a better deal on it, go right ahead. And you can cancel that deal. But in that 24-hour period, if that was a couple of days ago, the gold price fell $70. That means I would be out the $70 making sure that you felt comfortable with your transaction. You're not going to find another company that is going to do that for you. And I do it because I know people, when they start off in gold and silver, it's an unknown. You haven't done it before typically, and we want to make it as comfortable as humanly possible. So, if you're going to do business with us, that's our biggest reason, and something that we started a few years ago because we wanted people to understand and feel comfortable.
I think it's different. I think it's I think there's a bigger difference that you're not even hitting at because you're so used to. It's what you're doing right now. You see, the amount of this is probably our third interview, in addition to basically almost weekly calls with the company. The amount of education that you guys give is probably your biggest differentiator. I mean, if you guys want to go look around, let me know the last time you were able to sit and ask questions of a CEO or a founder of one of these other companies. That to me, that is something big. Hey, listen, I'm looking at the guy who runs the company, and I'm asking questions. So I'm going to tell you, with me, that's been the biggest thing with me, being able to actually, and people are like, well, no, they work with you. No, well, you can pick up the phone and say, do you have a guide on X, Y, or Z? And you can get a guide, you can download it. There's all kinds of reports that, as Kevin said, educate yourself before you make the purchase. You don't have to call Lear and say, I want to buy. You can say, hey, where do I get information on X, Y, or Z? And you can just download it off the website. And so I'm just going to give you a little props with that. I don't want it to sound like an infomercial, but I think you sold yourself short there is because you're doing this. You're answering questions for an hour. Like, for instance, this one, I would never have considered this question. It's weird. It says, I have vintage silver spoons. What is the content of silver in the spoons and how can I find out? That's all you.
Yeah. We get this question. So it's a good question. So you have sterling silver spoons. If you take them down to your local precious metals dealer, they have a little gun, for lack of a better term, and it shoots into the silver, and it will tell you exactly what the silver content is of your silver. They weigh it, and then they can tell you what that silver content is worth. So it's real easy. Just go down to any. Most of the times you can go down to a pawn shop, they're going to pay you less, but if you can find a local gold and silver dealer that you can walk into, they'll help you out.
Okay. Here's a question directly about Lear. What does Lear do with the U.S. dollars after we buy the gold? I'm like, what do you mean? It's like you go to a supermarket, you don't say, hey, Publix, what are you doing with the money from the pears that you just sold me? So I mean, it's a bit, maybe I should shut up.
No. Yeah, I get this question all the time, and we get this question because they say, hey, if you're going to sell me the gold, then why do you want the dollars, right? That's usually the question I get, and probably the question that Laura's asking. And Laura, we immediately go back and put it back into inventory. So the way that this works is, to me, you are an extension of our inventory. You own that inventory, and if you want to sell it back, hopefully you'll sell it back to Lear because other people typically would want it, because people buy it for their retirement, kids' education, things like that. So they're going to sell it at some point or sell some portion of it, and we would love for you to sell it back to us. When I receive your dollars, I do not want your U.S. dollars. I want more gold and silver, so we go purchase more bars, silver, platinum, palladium, anything that we feel is of good value that we could, place with you. And then we just hedge our inventory so that it doesn't matter to me if it's going up or down. I mean, I have a lot of my own inventory, but we don't want to be in a market where the gold price fell $70 and I purchased at a higher price. So we just simply hedge it. And that way you have something to buy. If I started playing the market, I would just go out of business because you can't predict markets. I hope that answers your question.
Yes. And let me go with one more question, because now they're kind of repeating each other. And so just to close out, I'd like to basically put this one to rest. It says, Barry, said you don't have a lot of money. What is the smallest amount you can buy? So people have kind of been asking this, and now let's go ahead and definitively put that in the box. How much can I buy based upon my income base or my whatever I have saved up?
Okay, so Kevin, great name first of all. You can purchase $1,000 online. So if you wanted $1,000 worth of precious metals, you can go purchase it online. And I'm going to expand on this just a little bit, but the $1,000, we need to ship it, and Federal Express charges us a fee, and our insurance company charges us a fee, and we need to ship out. It starts at $50, and it doesn't matter if you're at $1,000 or $3,000. It's still $50, and then it starts going up from there. So you get too far down from that, and then the $50 starts eating into too much of what you're purchasing. So online, $1,000. If you would like to have someone help you, then you can call a representative, and they'll help you out and tell you online what you should purchase. So we'll help you say, just go online and do it there. Otherwise, you're going to pay an extra 7-9% on bullion and higher on certain other types of coins. So we don't want to do that. The other thing you can do, it's much easier to walk into a precious metals company. If you get my information and you want to start your journey in purchasing gold, please get my information. It's free. And then educate yourself. And if you're starting off with a couple of $100, just walk into your local dealer. It's going to give you a great deal, and start doing the business there. I would love to do business with you. He's going to charge you less, so I'd rather have you start there and build yourself up.
And I said that was the last one, but I have one more because that's a good one. It says, I have gold and silver being held at equity trust. I assume you know what that is, Kevin. But
Yep.
want it in my house. Can I do that?
Okay, so you either have it at equity trust because they're holding it in some sort of depository for you, or you're holding it in equity trust because you have it in an IRA. I'm going to bet 99% that you have it in an IRA. If you pull it out of equity trust, it's going to cause a tax issue because you're pulling it out of your IRA. And so equity trust is there basically to say your metal is there to the government so that you don't have to pay the tax on that IRA. So if you want it out, not a problem. Matter of fact, Equity Trust is one of the only companies that will actually send you the metals. That's why we work with them. Other companies, if you wanted to take physical possession in an IRA that you sell, you get the money and then you have to buy it all over again instead of just getting the gold. But yes, you can is the short answer to the question. Please think about if it's in your IRA because it'll cause a tax issue.
All right. Well, Kevin, thanks for taking an hour out of your day to answer everyone's questions. We're going to continue after Kevin's done and talk about some other financial stuff that happened today. But if you want to get in touch with Kevin or anybody at Lear, you can see on the screen, just go ahead and call 800-601-5430 or go to learberry.com. Kevin, thanks for your time. It's always great, and based upon the number of questions we didn't get to, we may have to do this again.
Okay, I'd love to.
All
Thanks
right.
for having me, Barry. Have a great night.
All right, we're going to break here for a second, and then we're going to come back and talk about some more financial stuff. If you see what's going on in the world right now and what may happen here in America, you may want to prepare and pay attention. You know that Lear Capital is a big supporter of this show. If you want to be protected in the event that things go off the wall, I advise you to look into buying gold and silver. We are all just one catastrophic event away from the value of the American dollar plunging. Do you know what's not plunging? Gold and silver. In fact, gold hit an all-time high recently. In fact, I think it hit it again today. I'm telling you now, make sure that you have some form of your money invested in precious metals. Lear Capital will ship your gold or your silver coins directly to your house. It's not just a certificate. You can store them in your gun safe, or you can store them off-site in a 24-hour protected facility. It's totally up to you. But when things go crazy here or across the world, the value of the American dollar is going to decline. It's inevitable, and it might not even take a war. We may do it to ourselves. And I mean, if the Federal Reserve plays around with interest rates, the US dollar will likely decline in value as well. Meanwhile, you'll see gold and silver continue to rise in value. If you call Lear Capital, they will take the time to educate you and answer all of your questions about gold and silver. Just give them a call at 800-601-5430 or go to Learberry, that's me, learberry.com, to download your free de-dollarization report. You should know that Lear Capital is an American company. If you call them today, you'll be speaking with people right here in the United States. Now is the time to take action. Don't wait until after the election. That could be too late. We all want Trump to be elected, but if he isn't, or if they find a way to steal it, you'd better be prepared. Call 800-601-5430 or go to learberry.com. And when you call, ask them how you can get up to $15,000 in bonus gold with a qualifying purchase. There's absolutely no obligation to buy anything. Just free information on protecting your hard-earned dollars with gold and silver. You know, when you think about it, you're actually not buying anything. You're simply going to be exchanging dollars for gold, moving currency. Give them a call today. Tell them Barry sent you. All right, so I hope you guys found some information there that you found valuable, and that you can actually begin making some moves on your own to decide how you'd like to invest. Personally, how I look at it and how I've continued to look at it is not so much as an investment as an exchange of currency. I know for a fact with stuff that we gave away and the things that we hold ourselves this piece and this piece. If I needed to get rid of it and get some cash, I can get it. And pretty much it's seemingly only going up. And if it stays the same, it doesn't hurt me because, it's pretty much right there. I'm holding it. But that's gold. That's silver. Now I want to move into something else. Something else interesting happened today. And it's another byproduct of what Trump is doing. And how can I say this? With the newcomers getting the posse out after him. Whew, that was difficult, trying to say that without dancing around. Listen to what some people are talking about, what's going to happen in the real estate market. If you see what's going on in the world... That's me again. Okay, wait 1 second. Oops, I hit the wrong button. And because I hit the wrong button, here we go.
So, President-elect Trump and both candidates were talking a lot about housing affordability, clearly front and center issue for Americans in the campaign. What President Trump had said about it is that a lot of it, the affordability problems, was due to illegal immigration, and that after he carries out the largest deportation operation in history, that will ease prices by reducing demand. Do you agree? Are you optimistic that can help?
Okay, before he answers that question, this is I think the new CEO of Zillow. Everybody who's involved in real estate, everybody who has a home understands and knows what Zillow is. If you don't, you can go to Zillow.com and you can look up all kinds of information on houses in your neighborhood. You can look at houses across town. The numbers that you're going to see are based upon comparative sale data, meaning if Joe's house sold for $500,000, then Fred's house might be worth about $500,000. There's a lot more factors that go into that. You want to compare apples to apples. Does Joe's house have a pool? Does he have a certain kind of roof? How many square feet does he have? How many bedrooms? How many bathrooms? Versus your house. But you can get some idea as to the value of the property that you're living in currently or would like to buy. You can do that also by looking at some commercial property, meaning whether it's a duplex, triplex, 10, 12 units, you can begin looking at this. So this question that CNBC posed to this man was, Trump wants to basically get these newcomers out. What's going to happen to the housing market when that happens?
The big challenges in the real estate market are affordability and availability. Those are the two structural problems we have to work on. Affordability, as we talked about, is around what has happened with home prices and inventory is our biggest challenge. We are missing listings. Listings are up a little bit from last year, but if you look back to pre-pandemic levels, we're down sharply, and we're chronically underbuilt as a country. And so bringing more inventory, more new home starts online is going to be one of the things that really helps the supply-demand imbalance.
But have immigrants been a big source of demand for that and lack of availability?
We've seen demand across all segments. The buyer demand is there. Anytime rates move a little bit, you see demand spike on sites like Zillow. The pent-up demand, the desire to buy is always there. Again.
All right, so that, I'm going to stop there because I want you to understand right there. He said there's a pent-up demand, meaning people want to buy. They haven't been able to afford it because interest rates have been too high and the cost of money has been too high, because even if it's 4.25% in terms of the prime rate, more than likely, unless you got 800 credit score, you're not going to get a 4.25 loan. Probably not. You're going to be paying 6, 7, 8, 9% for your mortgage, which then makes it so much more expensive than when Trump was in office. So what Trump is doing and what he wants to do is not just lower the interest rate, because just lowering the interest rate without making sure people are getting more money, it's self-defeating. Because unless your income is going up and you're not strapped, you're not going to be able to afford a mortgage. Kamala Harris was going to destroy the real estate market, because as much as the pent-up demand was there, by her raising taxes, it was taking more out of your pocket. And so it became this cyclical thing where you're never going to be able to buy a house because you're never going to qualify, and we're not going to go back to 2008 where everybody who can fog a mirror can get a loan. You need to show that you can afford to pay the loan for the house that you want to buy, that you're capable of buying. One of the problems down here in South Florida is people come down here and they get absolute sticker shock. Sort of like California. They roll up into a neighborhood and go, oh, that looks good. Let's go ahead and put an offer on it. Oh, that house costs $700,000. Well, I can buy that house for like $300 in Oklahoma. Well, then you need to go to Oklahoma. You see, so many people that came here couldn't buy here, so they had to leave. And at the same time, a lot of people from up north who had cash were buying big time. And the other thing was people internationally were coming down here and plunking big, big dollars. I mean, huge. And so what's going to happen here in South Florida and may happen in your area, and I talked to a bunch of people today, and you know, this popped up, and it was kind of interesting because the mindset is problem. You got to change your mindset. Anyone that thinks it can't be done, you're can't speak to you. This came out today in the South Florida Business Journal. Said South Florida real estate experts say a Trump term will boost the local real estate market with lower interest rates, tax cuts, and less financial regulation. However, some are concerned about tariffs on building materials and the deportation of construction workers. I think that's a small price to pay. If your company is basically relying on cheap labor from newcomers, that's problematic. But at the same time, I know that pent-up demand he was talking about, and those of you who live in areas that have a high demand, one of the things I'm going to tell you right now that you may want to look at, there's this thing called an absorption rate. And what the absorption rate, any real estate agent and anywhere in the country that you're watching should be able to tell you this. And what it tells you is how long will it take for the amount of homes on the market to sell based upon most recent sales date. So if you start looking at markets where the markets are 5, 6, and 7 months to sell a house, then that means there's not really a whole lot of demand because people aren't buying for whatever reason. If you look at other markets and it's 2, 3, and 4 months for a home to sell, that's pretty much a hot market. Now, you can make money on either market if you know what you're doing. Like we were talking about buying gold. If you know how to buy, and I'm not talking about a house to live in. If you know how to buy and you want to make money in real estate, if you want to capitalize on the market and what's happening right now with Trump and with Biden and Kamala Harris leaving, now you just need to know where can you buy the best for that resale as long as there's a pent-up demand. And I have a problem because I can't teach people mindset. You have to want to be profitable. There's no one who's going to teach you. I mean, when you're a baby, your mom teaches you how to walk. You can go to culinary school and learn how to make food. You can go to truck driver school and you can learn how to drive a truck. I can't teach you how to be motivated. So I posted this earlier. And I said, oh yeah, baby, time to start buying again. And I tagged Ashley and Robin. And I get this comment down here, which is exemplary to the type of mindset that Kamala Harris has promulgated throughout the country. This guy steps in here and goes, nah, real estate and land should be for families, not for boomers to get rich. Your parents, my grandparents knew that's why your kids can't buy a home. And I told him, straight up, my daughter owns her own home. You see, that's a self-limiting belief. If you want to basically blame someone else because you can't afford or don't desire to make any money, and notice this man who responded and what he said. What he said is probably the worst thing the worst mindset you can have. Nah, real estate and land should be. So you're going to tell a capitalist what something should be. And then you're going to say it's not for boomers to get rich. See, those two things are self-limiting. You're saying that you shouldn't be able to do it, and it's only for a specific group, boomers, as if it's an insult. Hey, I wear it proudly. I know when I was born, And yes, it is for anyone to make themselves available to make a profit. Let's continue.
The challenge for buyers is affordability and what they can buy.
Yeah.
And so the structural challenges and changes we need to make as a country are really around affordability and availability of supply.
Well, that's what he's talking about. He's also talking about deregulating to get.
So you put all that together, affordability, availability, and deregulation, and it's a home run. But this is happening 2 days after this man got elected. This isn't something that you have to foresee. Right now, you put your hat on and say, oh, here's what's coming. Prepare now. Don't wait until January 20th. Start educating yourself. Start putting your team together. Start understanding what you need to do to be a part of what's going to happen in January. I can tell you firsthand, from the people I've talked to today, it's basically going to be like the Kentucky Derby. We're all sitting back and we're behind the gate, and it's going to open and we're all going to take off. It's going to be a feeding frenzy. And if you're not part of that feeding frenzy, then you're going to get left out. What are the other indicators that show me that it's going to be that kind of a feeding frenzy? Well, not sure if you saw this. This is Vladimir Putin. After Trump got elected, he's telling the world, all this globalist crap, it's done. He understands at this point that it's time to make some money. See that the globalist New World Order crap is done. And he signaled that today. Today he reached out and said, I want to meet with Trump. And then he has this press conference or whatever it was where he's out there saying, it's over. Everything that Biden and Kamala and Obama and Klaus Schwab and the WEF and all these people were trying to do, we are free from that. So if we're free from that, you can't possibly look yourself in the mirror and say you can't prosper under a Trump regime. You've got to just get ready to do it. Again, a lot of times I speak from the position of like a coach. And I don't think enough people are telling people what's going to happen. Why is all this about to break loose? He's going to drill. He's going to release regulations. He's going to lower taxes. Those things together should tell you the prosperity of America is about to explode. If we have cheaper energy, everything gets cheaper. If you pay less taxes, you have more disposable income. If you have more disposable income, you can buy more stuff. And if you don't have this burdensome, ideological barrier of fair share crap, I'm telling you right now, if you're in that fair share or that living wage shit, step off now. Just go ahead and unsubscribe. Because this ain't about fair share and this ain't about living wage. This is about getting what you can get. Does that offend you? Really? You don't think you should be able to get as much as you can get? Then you've been pushed into a self-limiting belief. They've put that upon you. I want to show you something that happened on MSNBC today. And MSNBC, as you know, they're nuts. But they had a brief respite of truth hit today, and I don't think they were prepared for it. How quiet the set got as one of their own hosts started dropping some science here.
So according to NBC News exit polling, the economy was one of the top issues on the minds of voters as they cast their ballots on Tuesday.
Funny that they needed an exit poll to understand that it wasn't baby removal. Oh my God, where's baby removal? 1, 2, 3. Number 1, state of democracy, whatever that meant. And number 2, the economy.
Joining us now with charts is former Treasury official and Morning Joe economic analyst Steve Ratner. And Steve, you are looking at the metrics that fueled Trump's win. Let's start with the issue of income.
Now understand, as they're going through this is what I call post-mortem. The post-mortem is you look back on what people care about, and you're saying, okay, here's why it happened. Here's why Trump was elected. And the funny thing about this is this data didn't happen yesterday. This data didn't happen on November 6th. They've known this data for probably a year because I've known it. Many of you have known it. Many of you have lived it. And now they're just telling people, oh, well, this seems to be why Trump won. They didn't care about the equity or the DEI or the newcomers or the transform. They only cared about money. You've had this data and you kept it from your audience. And now you got to tell them, well, here's what really happened.
What did the numbers tell you?
Yeah, of course, Mika, this is at the heart of the matter for almost every American. What is my purchasing power?
Imagine being on this network and this is the heart of the matter for Americans. And you're a news network that was supposed to be presenting news all along, and now after it's over, after Kamala's been kicked to the curb, now you want to tell your listeners.
How much can I buy? What's happening to my standard of living? And so let me show you what actually did happen over the last really decade or so. But if you go back to 2014, and these are all inflation-adjusted incomes. This is what you have after inflation. Incomes rose fairly steadily at about a rate of 1.3% all the way through the Trump administration. Now, 1.3% may not sound like a big number, but that's after inflation. That's more money that you have to spend.
Oh, so we were prosperous during the Trump administration. I'm sorry. I thought MSNBC said no. There's no going back. We're not going back. Oh, okay.
Ignore this. This was a COVID distortion. During the Biden administration, you can see that they actually went down for a while. That was that big burst of inflation that we had. And that lately they've been coming back. And when all is said and done, they were basically flat for this period. And this bothers Americans. And they feel that it was even worse because they don't really see these numbers, this chart exactly, but they feel this, and they don't quite feel this, and so they basically say inflation is what's hurting them. And in fact, incomes did not do as well in the Biden administration as in the Trump administration.
Huh? I'm sorry. Did MSNBC just said that income didn't do as well under the Biden administration than it did during the Trump administration? I'm stunned, because for the last 4 years you've been saying, oh, we're not going back. So we're not going back to prosperity. Your guy just said with a sullen face that Biden didn't do as well financially as under Trump. You're admitting it to the public that you've been lying for 4 years. And most of the people who on your station probably have no idea what this guy's even talking about. That's why I think it's important for you to understand it, because it's actually good data.
We just have to put that out there.
Oh, that's a mea culpa. We just have to let you. We got to say it. We got to say the truth. Incomes were better under Trump. Now you want to tell everybody, right? On November 7th, you want to tell everybody the incomes were better when Trump was president. Thanks, bud.
So Steve, let's continue through the charts. So talk about the disconnect between how well America's economy is doing. We hear it all the time. America is the envy of the world. Every world leader says they would love to change trade places with the United States. The U.S. dollar at an all-time are moving towards an all-time high. The stock market at an all-time high. S&P at an all-time high. Talk about the overall economy, and then this segment of the economy that you say for working class Americans that you think drove the election in Donald Trump's direction.
Remember, as he gets ready to say this, all this data, they didn't make these charts yesterday. Well, they may have made the charts yesterday, but the data has been in place for years.
Sure, Joe. So, yes, as we've talked about on the show, I think as recently as last week, the American economy overall is doing fantastically well. The envy of the world, everything we've been talking about, growth,
if you compare it to Ecuador,
low unemployment and inflation coming down. But let's talk about how it affects the average American. One of the big things that I believe is lurking behind the fact that you have this huge right track, wrong track upside down poll numbers that we've all seen so much of is the American dream and the question of whether the American dream is still there. So let's just look at this one chart. If you go back to 1940, 90% of young Americans would, by the age of 30 rather, make more money than their parents did. That has come steadily down. Some of that is somewhat natural as we became more prosperous, but it just continues to go down and down and down and down, and now you're down here at 50%. So only 50% of American parents should believe or will find that their son or daughter is making as much or more as they're making at the age of 30.
When was America great? They keep asking. Let's make America great again. When was America great? Before it fell off the flipping cliff that you're showing. That's when America was great. America was great before you built a ski slope. What happened in all those years to where people couldn't buy homes? That's when America was great. When he just answered Trump's slogan right there. So many young people don't feel that they have anything to work for. It's not going to be attainable. And then you've got people who question, what the hell is he talking about? When was America great? And just show them that chart. Maybe you don't remember because you just were never able to get on the top end of that slope. But when you look at that slope, you're like, oh, so it was a long time ago, huh? Yeah, it was a long time ago. Yeah. Make America great again. You laughed at it. You called it racist. You called it Hitlerian. You called it every kinds of name, fascist, because you didn't understand there's a chart that describes when America was great. How do we get back to that?
That's not the American dream. The American dream is obviously each generation is supposed to do better than the one before.
All right, and then your final.
Devastating. It's amazing. They just found this out. Oh my, what happened? How did you just find out that America used to be great and then it's fallen off a cliff? Unbelievable.
Chart, Steve, is about industrial wages falling behind. Tell us about it.
Well, actually, Mika, before we do that, can I do my middle chart, which we didn't
do? Your middle chart.
Do your middle chart. Yeah, we just hurry up and get off the air.
Which one?
Because it's in the same theme of what happens.
Okay.
So, and all the income inequality that we've had in this country over the last 20 years has led to some very different outcomes. If you're a white child born in the bottom 25th percentile, so now we're back to the famous white working class. If you were born in 1978 versus being born in 1992, on an inflation-adjusted basis, a child born in 1992 had 6% less income after inflation, all that, at the age of 30, than at the age of 27, rather, than a child born back here in 1978. So children are in this cohort of a white working class are making less and less and less.
When was America great? Tell me. Donald Trump keeps saying America's great. When was America great? Before shit hit the bed. Before shit hit the fan. What happened? Why are we no longer prosperous?
Each birth year that they have. In contrast, for the people at the top, they've actually been making a bit more for each child born. So you have this situation where children of white working class parents are making less each child year after year as they're born. They're completely the opposite at the top.
So people who got money get money. People who don't have money, it's no good for them. And that's who Trump has been talking to. Meanwhile, MSNBC has been talking to people in that yellow line. What do you mean? Everything's fine. The economy's great. I don't know what you guys are talking about. We're fine. We got limos. We go to the great parties. Oh, you people who work in, your plumbers, your electricians, you guys? Yeah, I'm sorry, it didn't work out. But for us, it's great. It's always been great. It's a straight line. It never changed. Look at that. If you're up here, the line never changed. They've been great the entire time. It's you other people down below who ain't feeling it.
So let's also compare millennials to baby boomers. I'm a baby boomer, and see what their different situation is. So if you talk about home ownership, baby boomers, 62% of baby boomers owned a home. 49% of millennials owned a home at the same age of 35. So millennials worse off. If you look at negative net worth, i.e. being bankrupt, 14% of millennials are bankrupt by the age of 35.
What? 14% of millennials are bankrupt by the age of 35. Again, they knew all of this. These stats, this data has been in place the entire time. Why in the hell did they decide today that they're going to release that to their audience? Because basically they're underscoring everything Trump has said. When was America great? When I wasn't having to see 14% of millennials file bankruptcy.
Only 9% of boomers were. If you look at wealth, millennials have on average 30% less wealth than baby boomers had at the same point in their life. But the top 10% of millennials actually had more wealth than the baby boomers. So you have huge wealth inequality among millennials. So
why is that? Because they were in that yellow line. They came from that family in the yellow line back when, America was great.
These are all reasons why people feel that the American dream isn't what it was supposed to be.
All right. Now you can go to it.
Sorry, Mika.
This is stunning.
Thanks so much.
Industrial wages.
Right. So I just heard some conversation about this, and you can see it right here very clearly. Yeah. What's been happening? What's been happening is that the relative incomes, who's making more relative to the average versus less than the average, has been shifting. It's been shifting in favor of the coasts. We were talking a few minutes ago about the coasts and the blue states. Connecticut, Massachusetts, New York, you can see that their income relative to the national average, which was always a little bit higher, has now soared up here.
Now do you understand why these people don't get it? They live in their bubbles in California and in the Northeast. I lived in Connecticut. I grew up in Connecticut. I've seen this firsthand. I remember when I was went to college and high school, and we were going to go down south for spring break, and everyone kept telling me, watch out for, be careful when you go down south, okay? Things are different down south, okay? Those people down there, they got cornfields and cotton fields, and, they don't watch you out after sundown. They're kind of slow. That's how people up in the north really think. And they think that because they've been able all this time to prosper. It never hurt them. Look at that. That's New York, Connecticut, Massachusetts. The ones who thumb their nose up at the rest of people, where their studio is.
The Midwestern states, Michigan, Ohio, Wisconsin, you can see that their incomes, which were a little bit above, but basically average, are now well below average.
So how could you, as a politician running for president, think you're going to get the states like Ohio, Oklahoma, Idaho? How are you even going to compete in those states when everyone in those states know you're just an elitist from the Northeast? That's all you are. And you're thumbing your nose up at us, and we're down here dying. We're trying to figure out how we can make ends meet. And you're like, when was America great again? When our charts were higher. That's when America was great again. When our charts were very similar to yours back then. When you look at that red line at one point is almost equal to Connecticut, New York, and Massachusetts. And then what happens? Boom! They got lots of money. Y'all down there, you're suffering. Now you know why Donald Trump won. Now you know why his entire slogan caught so many people. Make America great again. And MSNBC is a fraud. MSNBC is basically has been committing fraud on the American people since probably they first started broadcasting. You got Rachel Maddow making $30 million a year. I think Joy Reid makes $4 or $5 million a year. These people are all making so much money. They don't even understand how people are trying to figure out how to pay their bills and decide, should I pay this so that I can pay my car payment? Should I pay the babysitter or should I buy some groceries? Because it doesn't affect them. And they get on television every single night and speak to the same people like them. They don't care about the rest of America. And then Kamala Harris, she gets up there and basically says the same thing. Why the hell are you bringing up John Bon Jovi, Bruce Springsteen, Oprah, Cardi B? Why are you flaunting these millionaires, gazillionaires in my face? I'm not like them. And with what you want to do, I'll never be like them. And they wonder now, as they're doing all their postmortems, why she lost.
Why has that happened? It's happened a lot because of what's happened to the wages of mostly white working class Americans who work in factories. Mm-hmm. So here you can see a tool and die maker back in 1980 had almost a 20% higher income than the national average.
I'll say it again until it sinks in. When was America great again? Can we go back to when I was getting paid there? I'm a steel worker. I'm a factory worker. You know, before you started selling off our interest to all these other countries, these people were doing well.
Today, a tool and die maker has about 15% lower income than the national average. Machinists, metal fabricators, welders and solders,
yeah.
Their incomes all have gone down to well below the national average.
These people were sinister. They hid all of this data. And it's not data that's probably new to many of you. You're like, yeah, we known it. Yeah, they've known it too. Why they're picking today to show it? I'm like, wow. Are they really showing people that you've been screwing America by worrying about Ukraine and this country and that country? Meanwhile, the income has just been sliding off the table for blue-collar people?
A lot of this has to do with the decline in unionization, the effect of imports, lots of things we can talk about. But the bottom line is these folks are making a lot less money compared to their other Americans than they used to. And so average incomes in the States are also lower.
That explains a lot. Morning Joe, economic analyst Steve Ratner.
Oh, that explains a lot. That's a euphemism. It explains everything. And now we have a guy who's back in office who's like, I want to go back to that. Kamala's entire campaign was based upon, oh, we're not going back. No, we can't go back. They've convinced people that Trump is fascist, racist, hates women, everything. I got a text tonight. It's amazing. Let me see if I can pull this up. This is from, obviously I can't say his name, but this is from a gentleman who is a sheriff in a local county here in Florida. And I want you to read this and understand what's going on with some of these people, because this is just really bad. Barry, I sure hope we aren't going to see an increase in teen taking their own lives, because these kids are lost. Maybe we need to let parents know to have a conversation with their kids about this election. Today, at work, one of my counselors whose sole job is to help these high school kids through crisis comes into my office and asks if she can decompress. A short while later, she just completely lost it and started crying. True text, it's right there. Come to find out, she would just spend an hour consoling a teen about one of their friends who just took their own life. The teen took their life because they believed they lost their gay and lesbian rights now that Trump is elected. As you and I both know how preposterous that is, yet it occurs to me these kids have been subject to the propaganda. Then I see your post of the young lady this morning shaving her head. I don't know if you guys have seen that. Are we seeing a pattern emerging? Yeah, we're seeing a pattern emerging. We're seeing utter desperation. that was put upon the American public by these idiots. And now you're trying to make a mea culpa and say, oh, it's not bad. It's going to be okay. You don't have to worry about it. We understand now what happened. Now we understand. I watched the Karine Jean-Pierre do the press conference today. And while she was doing that press conference, that's when I got that. Let me see if I can find this video, because I want you to see this, because it doesn't have the same effect as actually me talking about it. Yeah, I've got the video here. So we're going to go to this video. After hearing what I just said to you about kids cutting off their hair, doing stupid stuff, taking their own lives, and everything else, how do you reconcile the fact that for the last year you've called this man a Nazi? You've called his supporters garbage. You told people that he was, the second coming of Adolf. You said all that, and you expected people just to be normal. Let me see if I got this set up correctly. If I got this set up, I want to play it. All right, got it set up. So Jackie Heinrich from Fox asked Karine Jean-Pierre that very question. And now that you know that kids are taking their own lives and cutting off their hair and screaming on camera and doing all this stuff, because specifically what the White House and the Democrats have done, listen to this.
Administration message to millions of Americans that they're going to wake up the day after the election if Trump won and have their rights stripped away, that democracy would crumble, and the president said today we're going to be okay. So how do you square that?
I can square that. I'm going to square that in a way that hopefully makes sense, because I've been answering this question multiple times. The American people made the decision.
We lied. That's what she just said. We lied. You guys chose him, so at this point the gig is up. Get over it.
An election 2 nights ago. There was.
You got kids offing themselves, and she just goes, yeah, there was an election. All right. We said what we could to see if we can get Kamala elected. But kids are taking their own lives. They think that all their rights are gone. You told them that, Hitler was coming.
And it was a free and fair election. And we respect the election process. We do. And Americans spoke. And so the job of the president is to make sure we respect that. The job of the president is to make sure that we have a peaceful transfer of power.
So you're going to give power to Adolf? You're going to give power to a man that 3 days ago was a fascist? With a smile? That's what you want all these kids and people who are screaming on X, cutting off their hair, taking themselves out, to now realize it was just an election. We tried to convince you guys he was bad, but it was just an election.
That is what the American people deserve. And that's what we're going to, it's not complicated. It's truly as simple.
Oh, it's not. She's truthful about that. It's not complicated. You flipping lied. You ran your propaganda. You ran it at these people. They fell for the propaganda, and now you're just abandoning them.
Was that? As simple as that. The president called the president-elect, invited him to the White House. You know why?
No, I don't know why. He's a fascist. He's Hitlerian. He's racist. Please tell me why you invited that to the White House.
Because that's customary. That is customary. That is what you do. If you respect what the American people decided, that's what you do. And that's what the president's going to make sure that the Trump transition has what it needs, which is being led obviously by our chief of staff here. Why? Because the president wants to lead by example. It's not complicated. It really isn't.
You don't hate these people enough. They knew they were taking your money. They knew that they were putting you through hardship. They knew they were lying to everybody when they said all the things they said about Trump and us.
And You know, that's important.
Example is the message to people who are fearful based on what the messaging was about the state.
Well, now you're just twisting everything around, and that's
Too bad they don't have. Can we go to the videotape last week when he said they're garbage? Last week. But somehow now you're twisting it all around. That didn't really happen.
really unfair. No, it is. No, Jackie, it's unfair because I've been standing here trying to be very respectful to what happened the last two nights ago. Being respectful. I've been standing here saying that we respect the decision that the American people made. I've been standing here and saying that the president's going to put the American people first. I've been standing here talking.
Anybody else feel like you're in a twilight zone? I'm serious. I've been standing here telling you we're going to put the American people first. Those are the words that just came out of her mouth. On November 7th, this was about 2 o'clock, we're going to put the American people first. What? We're going to put the American people first. That's not out of Trump's mouth, not out of mine. Her mouth, she just said it. Everybody watches like, wait. I thought we were garbage. And you don't hate these people enough.
Talking about how the president's going to make sure that they get what they deserve, which is a peaceful transfer of power. I do not appreciate having my words.
Ooh, now she's going to get, she's got an angry black woman on her.
Twisted. That is, I am being very clear, very, very, very clear about what the president wants to do and the vice president. We want to make sure that we deliver for the American people. They deserve a peaceful transfer of power, and that's what you're going to see. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, she just went there. She just went there. So now that you know for a fact that the media and your government have been lying to you all along, they knew, many of you knew you were being lied to, but now you know for a fact that it was one big charade. And meanwhile, you've got women and men making crazy videos on TikTok. You got kids, probably some adults, taking themselves out. You got all this going on, and okay, whatever. You don't hate these people enough. Thank God Trump won in a landslide, because now you can tell what they were going to do. So now the media and everybody else is basically trying to make nice and go, yeah, these people were mad because they weren't making enough money. Why didn't you just say that when Kamala was running? No, the entire purpose of this show, and I know it wasn't for everybody, so I'm okay with that, is I think it has to be said. In order for America to be great again, people have to aspire to be great again. See, Trump can only do so much. The rest is on you. I've seen comments in here, there's no way I can get by, there's nothing I can do, I don't have enough money, and I understand your position. I completely empathize with that position. The only thing I'm trying to, again, and putting on my coach's hat, is to tell you, whatever age you're at, you are not stuck in that position. In order for America to be great again, you have to seize the opportunities that Trump can open up for you. You're on a fixed income. You're like, I don't know what I can do. Ask somebody. See, that's the first step. Ask somebody. Scout's honor. This happened yesterday. Actually, 2 days in a row. Knock at the front door. I'm like, who's knocking at the door? We live in a gated community. You expecting anybody? No. Little kid on a bike. Hey, mister. What? Can I wash your car? Dude, it's raining. Come back, when it's not raining. Thinking I was blowing the kid off. Guess what happened today? Knock, knock, knock. It's not raining, mister. Whew, okay. Here's $15. Go do what you gotta do. Your sloppy ass job washing the car. But he had that perseverance. I told him, hey man, no, I can't do it today. It's raining. Why am I gonna wash the car? He came back today. The first thing he said was, hi mister, it's not raining. And then after I gave him $15. You're not going to believe what he said next. He goes, yeah, well, me and my brother, we also have a dog walking business. This kid tried to upsell me. He could have been more than 12 or 13. We have a dog walking business. He looked in the house. He goes, oh, I see your little dog there. I have a dog walking business. I'm like, bro, where'd this come from? Why doesn't everybody have that kind of mentality? I know where you live. I know what you drive is in the driveway. And, yeah. How do I get to be and make more money? And this kid's 13 years old, and he's like, I got two businesses. I got a dog walking business. Another true story. I don't know if you guys have ever used Roadie. Roadie is a courier company. And so if I have to send a document for real estate to somebody, I'll call Roadie, ROADIE.com. Not affiliated with it. Roadie, you go ahead and put your information in, and it's like Uber for documents. Guy shows up, and he walks out, and he goes, can I tell you something? I'm like, what? So here's my Instagram page, and here is, what I do. There's some people, down the street from you who have a Bentley, and this guy here's got this and this, and I detail their entire car. I'd like to figure out, could I do that with you? Could I detail your car? And he goes, here's my website and my card and everything, and the card's wrong card. His card is right here. Actually, it was written on a piece of paper. And I'm like, okay, bro. And he goes, let me know when I come over. I'll detail your car. He goes, I'll do it from the fender to the bumper. We'll do everything. It'll look like showroom. And I'm like, hustle. This guy's driving basically an Uber for documents. And while he's stopping, he's like, can I do business with you? Can I go ahead and detail your car? How much going to cost? So I get it's about 75 plus tip. He included the tip in the quote, 75 plus tip. I'm like, damn, bro. Damn. Don't let anybody tell you can't make money. Don't let anybody tell you you can't prosper. Don't say it to yourself. Well, I'm on a fixed income. There's nothing much I can do right now. I'm pretty sure you could walk somebody's dog. I'm sure you could probably walk 2 dogs. You might be able to walk 3 dogs. Charge these people $20 a week or whatever, and I'll walk your dog 3 times a week. You're only limited by this. You're not limited by that idiot who said it's only boomers who look to get rich in real estate. That's not true. That is not true. Trump is back in office. Well, is going to be back in office in January. I'm encouraging everybody. I'm going to call Kevin because Kevin mentioned Robert Kiyosaki. I'm like, hook me up with Robert. Let's get Robert on here and talk about what he can do. My job moving forward is to try and open opportunities for you guys to see, wow, my life can really improve. I can make Joe great again. I can make Cindy great again. You start saying it to yourself. And now all of a sudden it's not just a red hat and a red shirt. It's you. So, before I leave here, I'm just asking you, what can you do to make you great again? What can you do to help somebody else become great again? We have a large community here. We got 9,000 or so people over on X. I think it's 9,000 or getting close to it. If you want to join our community over there, go ahead to fanfareshop.org/group, and there's 9,000 fellow patriots. There's strength in numbers. There's comment section. We've got 300,000 plus subscribers. Thank you. What are you going to do? Who can you talk to? How can you figure out what you can do to make you great again? See, you did your part. You voted, you got him in. Trump's going to go pave the way. Hey, I'm going to look, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to do all this. We're going to drill, baby, drill. Okay, what are you going to do? See, America doesn't work if you don't work. You saw my tweet. I'm like, hey, I'm ready to start buying again. I am ready to start buying again and talk in terms of real estate. I'm going to start looking for deals. I'm going to let people know they can come to me. And I can do another show, but you don't need any money for that too. I told you how Bill did with me. This guy turned me into his bird dog. And all I had to do was sweat equity. I had to go look at houses. He would tell me, find houses in good neighborhoods. Find the worst house in a best neighborhood. That was one of the first things he said to me. Find the worst house in the best neighborhood. Not, don't go in the hood and look for stuff like that. Drive around, look at a house. Most of the other houses look good, but there's one or two there that look like crap. Does the lawn overgrown? Yeah. Does it look like the roof might need to be fixed? Yeah. Does it look empty? Is it vacant? And you start learning to look, because I've been taught. And I know, as I've said many times, I could literally parachute into any city in the country and within 24 to 48 hours find a deal. And I also know within 24 to 48 hours, if the numbers make sense, I got plenty of people who will put up money. So when people say, hey, listen, I buy houses cash, it's not their cash. They know somebody. You know, if I were to find a deal that made sense, and I say, hey, listen, we'll give you $400,000 cash in 7 days, I already know who I'm calling and saying, hey, I got a deal here. This makes sense. We're going to do this, do that. We're going to make a certain percentage, and we're going to sell it, and then here's what the return is, and you're going to get this percentage, and I'm going to get that percentage. We got a deal? Yeah, go buy the house. In order for you to know that, you got to talk to people. You need to find what you don't have. Sometimes what you don't have is the knowledge, not just the money. So we can go further on that, but that's our discussion on capitalism tonight. And I hope you found something of value, and I hope you realize that you have 90 days to begin figuring out where you want to get your opportunity and what you want to do. Let me take some. Let me see. I'm looking for some. Here's a lady. She goes, I babysit for free for mothers that need it. Sometimes I give $20 for gas to a single mom. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine as well. But you know, what are you doing for you? What exactly? I'm looking here. Exactly, Barry. Turn garbage houses into gold. Fix them up. Maybe you're a carpenter. Maybe you're a plumber. When my dad, decades ago, what they would do is sort of like what some of the diasporas would do is, what do? I'm an electrician, you're a plumber, you're an air conditioning guy, you're a carpenter. Okay, let's buy this house. You put in what you do. I'll put in what I do. Then we'll sell this and we'll split the money. And that's how a lot of basically what my dad did when he started. That one thing when I'm talking about bird dogging, that's wholesaling. That is called wholesaling. There's a wholesale and there's retail. When you buy a house to live in, you are buying it at retail. See, a lot of people don't even know that. A lot of people don't know that what something is being offered at doesn't mean that we're going to pay for that. Ashley will tell you, Robin and I had to go look at a house down in Hollywood. The houses in the area all go for $550, $600. And we walked up to the house, and it was referred to us. We walked in, and I said, we'll give you $300. Well, the people needed the money. They needed to move, and the house needed a ton of work. So I could buy that house for $300, and I'm helping them because they need cash. And at the same time, I know I've got a $300,000 spread on that property, so I could either sell it to somebody else or I could repair it and then sell it for $600,000. So that's pretty much how it works. Somebody says multimillionaires in Michigan are ready to open their wallets now, learn how to run excavation equipment. Exactly. There's so many things. I see so many people who comment and say, I'm stuck in my house. This is the computer age. This is the age where you can do so much sitting from home. I could say to you, I've got my own person, but I could say, listen, can you go on Zillow and this site and this program and this software and give me an idea what the comps are in this area? And you could be an analyst for somebody. things are going to break coming January. Things are going to open. And all I'm trying to say is get on board. Figure out a way how you can strap on to this Make America a great again train. Don't let it pass you by. That's what they're hoping for. They're hoping 4 years from now you're going to say, yeah, things didn't get good. Things didn't get better. I'm still sitting here. I'm broke. Well, you're only broke because you choose to be broke, not with what's about to happen. If you understand that for the last 4 years, these people have intentionally deflated the market and kept things under wraps. And now what you're about to see is all that boom. It's all going to come apart. And now you're going to be able to just do all kinds of different things. All kinds of... Are you involved in foreign currencies? Just gold and silver at this point. I'm dabbling in crypto. You know why I'm not deeper? Because I don't have the knowledge base for crypto. There's no shame in somebody going, I'd like to do more with this, but I just don't know enough about it. So I'm learning. And what's funny is last time we talked about crypto and I said some things, I got about 20 emails and people are like, hey, try this. Get in touch with this person. They can teach you about crypto. What I do know is some people are forecasting that crypto is going to go to $100,000 for a Bitcoin. I think it's right now, it's probably 60, 70, hold on, Bitcoin pricing. All right, so as of right now, Bitcoin is at $75,000. Let me show it to you. Bitcoin's at $75,000. And then you can see the chart. That's another thing you can do at home. You can chart stuff. So if you see the chart here, and it's like, oh, it was quite volatile. Notice this is on the 1 day. So if I click the 5 day, I want to see a trend. Ooh, what does that tell you? See, the 1 day tells you one story. The 5 day tells you a different story. The 1 month story tells you a different story on top of that. And then 6 months, you see the story, how it evolves? What does that tell you? What is that? There's a thing called the trend line. If you see this low point here, where I am, you could draw a direct line on a 45-degree angle, and you can see over the last 6 months, Bitcoin has gone on a 45-degree rise. It might bounce off the wall a little bit, but over that 6 month period of time, it has gone basically 45 degrees up. I just did that from my desk. Doesn't matter where you are, what you do, you can chart that. It's very simple. So there are no excuses except for the ones you put on yourself. Whatever self-limitations you say, I can't do it, that's you. Because if I wanted to jump into Bitcoin because somebody says it's going to go from 75 to basically 100, well, Barry, you're going to have to learn how to do it. And the learning is free. You don't have to buy any courses. There's so much. There's so much out there that you can take it and learn. We mentioned, I'm getting off track here, but let me just show you something. This is Zillow. All right, so let me go here. This is Zillow. And let me put in a house, an area in Fort Lauderdale. All right, so I'm going to put in 33306, and I want for sale. Now it's going to show me, look at all that data, and I ain't had to go anywhere. And if I zoom in, I can see in this part of town here that there's a house here for $280. Now there's one for $249. I'm like, why in the hell would this be $249? I know I'm seeing $335, $560, 1.6. Why is this $249? So I click here. It's a condo, so I won't touch it. So what I would need to do is come up here to home type, and I don't want to look at multifamily in this particular area. I don't want any of this stuff. I just want houses. I don't even want townhouses. You see me selecting. So now I apply all that, and it's only going to show me houses. And as you look, you can see, hopefully you can see, these are all the prices of the homes in that area. And I got 7.8 million, 4 million. This one's the lowest. This is 1.2. Why is this one so low? If everything else is 1.8 and it's basically on the same street, look at this. There's one at 1.8. This one's at 1.2. Why is that so low? Let's take a look at this. And I can click in here and give you some information. And then I see stuff like this. Home offers, they're looking for different things. And what's wrong with it? How old is it? I look through the pictures. And I haven't left my desk yet. Y'all watching, right? I'm still sitting here in my office. And I can click around and look in here. And I can look here. I can see all 30 pictures. I can see, the flooring. It looks like it's old flooring there. Let's get to the kitchen because the ladies love kitchens. Oh, it's kind of a cramped kitchen. It's not really conducive for a $1.2 million house. Doesn't even have any counter space. This is just an island, table. So I maybe want to go in and redo that kitchen. It's probably got tiny bedrooms. There's a bigger bedroom. Bathrooms, not bad. Not bad in terms of that's old. So I know that the house isn't updated. Just by looking at that right there, I went, okay, there's a problem. You're in a high-priced neighborhood, and this house needs to be fixed up. Nobody's going to pay $1.2 million for a bathroom that looks like that it came out of the Brady Bunch. I can look here and see it needs some landscaping work. Yep, it's a small yard, but the location you can't beat. The ocean is right there where my mouse is. So I know right now, looking at this house, that this house is undervalued once it's fixed up. So they're looking to sell this at 1.199. When I go back in here, I can tell basically when it was listed, how long it's been listed, all the different information on it. Once I get down here, and now my wife's a realtor, so I could get more information as a real estate investor. But I can see how the prices have been. Here's the history. I can see now it's been for sale just for a couple days. Actually, no, it went from. So they've been trying to sell this house since May of 2024. Since May, they have not been able to sell it. So it's been on the market for one reason or another for 6 months. I might have just found a deal. You see, this house has been sitting on the market for 6 months in an area where the houses sell pretty quick. It's a high-end area. So if it's been on the market for 6 months, more than likely I can get it even cheaper, which means they haven't gotten an offer yet. Maybe they've got an offer, but maybe it's like somebody like me, and it's like, you know what, we'll buy that house, we'll give you $900. And why would I give you $900? The reason I would give you $900 is because that's 1.2. Here's one right down the street for 1.8. So what is this house that's 1.8? 600,000. Oh, I can see it already. This is a remodeled home. It looks fantastic. They've updated everything. New pavers in the driveway. Let me get to the inside and see it. Look at nice doors, windows, great looking backyard. All this stuff looks like they painted the pool. Look at that. This is an old house. This isn't like a new house. Look at it. It's very nice. New custom bathrooms. So now I know in this neighborhood, look at that kitchen. It's the same size. It's kind of small, but look at the difference. Look at the flooring. Look at that marble flooring. So now I know going in, wow. Once I fix it, I could sell it for 1.8. I'm not going to bore you with all the stuff I looked through. The part that I just wanted you to pay attention is, I did that in 10 minutes. I did that in 10 minutes at something that could potentially make me $400,000. If I bought that house for $950 and I put $200,000 into it, if I put $300,000 into it, I'm at 1.2, and then I sell it for 1.8. That's a $600,000 spread, and then I cut my deal with my investor who provides the cash, and you make $400,000 payday, just like that. That's going to be available. That's the kind of stuff that I'll be spending and telling Ashley how to look and how to pull out different things. And I never left my house, never moved, never went anywhere. I just know to look. Once you know how to look, then you can do all kinds of different things. And I'm not saying this to brag. Obviously, I have a decades of experience where I can look at something that quick. And I can look at something that quick and go, okay, I know the neighborhood, I know the area, and that's what I was saying. I could drop into any neighborhood in any city in the country, and within 24 to 48 hours find something. That's because of the education I've had. You don't have that. I understand it, but you could learn your own area tomorrow. Drive around where you live. Look for a house where the grass is overgrown and the mail is sticking out the mailbox, or maybe Jim and Joanne are getting a divorce, or just anything, and just look. I'm like, wow, that house looks like crap. Why? What did they do? Why does it look this way? There are so many opportunities. The Bitcoin, the gold, the silver, the real estate, walking the dog, detailing the car. The only thing stopping you is you. Trust me. Trust me. Not knowing where to go for the information is the thing that's holding you back. Once you find that out, man, you're crazy. Unrealized capital gains. Not worried about it. Not worried about it. I don't want to go into it now, but I'm sure you could guess what you do with the capital gains. Just telling you. I start my own real estate franchise. No, I don't want to do that. Just no, you can't. I need a handout. I hope you're kidding. I need a handout. I do appreciate you and all you do to help people. Yeah, you don't need a handout. You need a handout. Yeah, you guys have been here for 2.5 hours. If you'd like me to do something more and dig into some stuff, what did he say? He said Trump just made a 3-minute video on his plan to dismantle the deep state and cleaning up the house. Where'd he post it? Hold on, let me see if I can find it. Hold on 1 second. Let me see if I can find that. Where'd he put it? Nope, I don't see it. It's not on Truth Social. Let me check X and see if he posted it there. But there was one that he had posted a while ago about dismantling the deep state. No, he's not posted anything new. Wait a minute. Nope, there's nothing new from Trump. Let me just check one other place where I know it would be. If he posted it, it would be available. No, it's not new. All right, guys. If you offer them 800K, they'll take it. No, you don't want to get greedy. I mean, I want to make a profit, but I don't want to lose the deal either. But sometimes, yeah, you're right. Sometimes they'll take it. The video was posted 3 hours ago. Where? SV. Text me. Where is it posted? And I'll pull it up right now. Yeah, people who are upside down in their mortgages. Barry, can you do more teaching like this? A lot of us didn't grow up understanding money and how it works. That is the problem. Our school system is teaching people about DEI and how you've been oppressed and everything, and they're not teaching people how to do stuff. SB, where's the video? Steve, tell me where the video is so I can pull it up. What do you think of Elon's tiny houses? Well, I mean, tiny houses work. If you don't have anything, start there. Start tiny. And then you fix it up, live there for a year. I mean, there was a guy I met right out of college, and he was a cop. And at that time I forget, outside of Philadelphia, you could buy Baltimore. You could buy a house for $1. The key was you had to stay there for 5 years. And you had to fix it up, and they would help you get the loan to fix it up. But you had to live in that neighborhood for 5 years. We'll give you for $1. We'll help you, give you the money to fix it up, but you got to stay there. Well, like, okay, I'm a cop here, so I'll stay here. Well, he got the house for $1, and then like 5 years later, he sold it for $300,000. Guy went from basically just being a beat cop to now he's sitting pretty, because he's like, well, I should have bought 3 of them. Where's that video? Where was it posted? All right, here you go. Let's see if SV sent it. Posted in chat. Well, that doesn't help me. How the hell am I going to find it? Oh, there it is. Okay, hold on. Okay, got it. Hold on. Let's take a listen to this Trump video real quick. And found it. Nope, it's fake. You got to be careful. There's these videos going around that show Trump in front of these flags, and unless you can verify the authenticity of it, there are a lot of fake videos going around with him standing there. So just be really careful of who posts this stuff, because none of the people, I don't know who this person is that's named Truth Justice, but you have to watch out for some of these people because they'll put AI videos out there. And so unless I've seen this on someone I really trust, I wouldn't push those videos. And nobody I trust is pushing that out there. So I'm gonna say right now that's not real. Barry, we need more conversations like this. Okay, we can do that. No need to apologize, bro. And Charlie Kirk didn't post it. I know a lot of y'all see Charlie. Sometimes they will post them as a joke too. Charlie Kirk. And let me see. Let me see if this is true, because if it's true, Charlie Kirk posted it. I hope it's not AI, but let's go ahead and take a listen to it. I wonder if Charlie got duped, because I can't. Let me see if anyone's talking about it. All right, so it looks, if Charlie posted it, I'm going to take his word that it's real. Hopefully YouTube won't say, hey, it was fake. You put up fake news, and say you can't have it. All right, let's go ahead. Let me download it and put it in here. I pretty much have heard it before, what he said he was going to do to the deep state. Hold on. Unless maybe he had it before. All right, so let me add it in here and put my ears back in. Let's listen to see if this is real or not. All right. Okay, where is it? All right, here we go. Let's take a listen. I'm going to watch his lips closely to make sure this isn't AI, but here we go.
Here's my plan.
There. Oh, wait a minute. It's not fake. Okay, that video he published was in 2023, somebody said. Okay, it's on Trump's website. All right. So it's on. I don't know. We'll have to see. Why would anyone doubt? Because there's so many things going on with AI, but it could have been an old video, but it's not. The reason why I'm saying doubting it, because it's not on Truth Social and it's not on his X. So somebody put it up from before, and Charlie. We're all human. He may have got duped. Don't know. Charlie may have gotten duped himself. Who knows? But in any event, we'll find out. We'll find out real quick. Somebody says, I spend 3 hours a day setting up my buy and sell orders. My target gain is $900 to $1,200 a day. From his house. Somebody learned how to do that. Absolutely. Patty says, my house is $500,000 and can't sell. Then you probably have a pricing issue. Everything sells. Everything has a price. Everything has a market for it. So it's probably has to do with the pricing. Let me see here. I'm trying to find okay. Let me go back this way. Not sure what happened here. and why it's not letting me sort. So I'm going to have to do Super Chat the old way because it's not letting me sort in my program here. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. I hope you guys like this kind of stuff. I want to do more stuff like this and basically give you guys some information that's just not the same old shit you find on any other channel, and stuff that can actually help you and make things better for you. That's the whole idea behind it. All right, so let me do it the old way because I can't do it that way. Okay, here we go. And yeah, leave me in the comments. Let Ashley know. Let the mods know that you guys like this type of content. Okay, Big Cat, as always, thank you for the show. Thank you. Fernando, Liftoff. Lucy O'Connor, thank you. Ashley Valentini, thank God Trump won to save America. Time, thank you. John Parr, I'm very disappointed. I have not heard of any Hollywood idiots pack up and leave. It's too profitable. The View, the ladies on The View are going to make so much money. For the next 4 years, all they have to do is attack Trump. And all the nuts will watch it. So they're going to make a ton of money. Larry 1754, wait till the Dems start seeing their paychecks getting bigger, that they can buy more groceries now than in the past years. They will thank Trump. Yeah. Cliff Logan, thank you. Kaya, not finance related. We pray for President Trump's win. I think we need to take a moment and pray and thank God for the answered prayer. Yes, we will be doing that. I have to get with JJ, and we're going to have a really good prayer meeting about that. And for the people who are going nuts. Critical conversation, thank you. Jeff 26, how big was Supreme Court reversal of Chevron? Sue Rabin, the 2008 market crash killed me. I was faced with homelessness with a child or taking charge of my life. I started a small biz 17 years later, still going. Invest in yourself. See, there's someone you can talk to right there. You can talk to Sue. Cliff Logan, I'm out. Thanks for getting me through this election. Here's a little something for all the time I spent watching for all these months. I will still tune in. Thank you, Cliff. I am Planet Hermit, RIP Legacy Media. Yeah, they definitely died. What a bunch of liars. Jerry, thank you very much. Enjoy Kirkland. Yet another reason we need and want contrition and justice. Karine Jean-Pierre has never been clear about anything. Maybe sometime we could talk about what may be going on with digital currency. Thank God Trump got elected so we don't have that central bank digital currency BS. Jeremiah KJP, since your whole party is full of so much class now, go ahead and take out the garbage. It's full. Agreed. All right, everybody. Talk to you guys tomorrow. Hope you like this. Let me know in the show mail email what kind of things you'd like me to cover when there's not a whole bunch of news while we're waiting for Trump. And I got some other stuff planned. Tomorrow's probably a big show. All right. Talk to you guys tomorrow.